This is a patient with a disease called myasthenia gravis. He was a good man but sadly useless. And it looks like he died a virgin, too. And contrary to expectation, it wasn't the pretty nurse next to him, it was that aunt. Life really is a humiliating piece of shit. Then when the boy closes his eyes and opens them again, he sees himself. He finds himself in a bamboo basket as a baby. He retains memories of the modern world, but here he is surrounded by killers in black everywhere. And the man who held him protected him. He was very strong. He handled everyone who wanted to attack him and wanted to take the baby away. He was the late mother's servant. He was a martial arts master of the highest order, one of the 4 great masters that were in this world. He was her chief protector, and he came to the head of the prosecutor's office. And he said that they did not appreciate this magician. Before strong magic, anything would be like Peru, which some magician writes, that is, utterly useless. He asked him where his sister was. He replied that he hadn't made it. He said he wanted an explanation for what had happened. He didn't say anything. And he asked if her kid was alive. The guy said he was alive. He wanted to take him somewhere safe. He had recently returned to the capital, and this was the right place. And told him he wouldn't believe a word he said. He said he couldn't give him anything. You're blind, and even though your kung fu is the best in the world, all you can do is kill. The guy went off to Danju, and so the weeks, the months, the years passed. And the boy grew up. He was telling his friends a story. The story goes that a traveler reached the wall and saw a ladder there. He climbed it slowly, step by step, found a door and went through it. And what happened next? He said and smiled. And just like that, the hero prevented an enemy invasion. The end. The boy finished telling the story. But his friends said they didn't like the story, and he said that you don't understand anything. Suddenly a boy ran up to them. And he shouted at the boy to hurry home. He said his farm manager was beating up his servants again. He beat all the girls mercilessly. He shouted at them to tell them where their mistress had gone. But they said they didn't know. They said the young master had forbidden them to speak of it. He threatened them that if they told, he would beat them to death. He was the master and she had to obey him. The steward is the steward and he has every right to punish us. It was literally a vicious circle. The girl replied that he could beat him to death. In response he said, if you say so I won't hold back any longer and I'll beat you up. Just as he was about to hit her, Fan Xian came. And he said it was his maids and why you beat them up. He said it was because of the young mistress. He can't teach that boy a lesson, but the maids can. And the boy's sister wanted to explain it to him. But he said he couldn't let her defend him. The boy slowly walked over to the table and climbed up on the nag. Next the boy told the steward to come up to him. When he did, he told him to keep his head straight. The manager had no time to say a word before he hit him with all his might that he flew away and his teeth fell out. He was surprised, such atrocities at such a young age, and he began to say he would tell his grandmother everything. When they were having supper he came to them and said that the young gentleman had hit him in the pavilion today. You see, Grandma, he said himself, that I did the right thing. My sister said that this manager had beaten up my brother's maids for no reason. Grandmother replied that they should change all the maids in his pavilion. But the boy replied that he liked the silence and did not need so many people. Then she said they should all be recalled. Let's see if you dare bully my people again, thought the boy. Also his grandmother said that his sister would be taken back to the capital. And that had been decided a long time ago. The girl was upset. When the boy went back to his house he saw the maid there. She had served there since she was a child and she was not skilled in martial arts. The boy asked why she had not returned home. She replied that her parents didn't want her anymore. And she didn't have a home anymore. I had no place to go. And I said that you and I are the same, I also have no father and mother. The girl was surprised and said that the young master has a father and lives in the capital. But he said he didn't. He also said that in that case stay here, but you must be mentally prepared for the old man to make fun of you again. The boy was already lying in bed thinking about what was interesting about this capital, what kind of food is usually eaten there. There must be an undersupplied local, but said he had to throw all these thoughts away and think about the future. He lay there lying awake and couldn't sleep. So he decided to get up from looking at his treasure. It was an untitled yellow book. It was left for him by a blind guy named Wuju when he was very young. When he opened it, he knew right away what it was. It's a kind of cultivation method. He. Hard work makes up for a lack of talent. Even if this method is no good, nothing bad will happen if he practices it. There was a big storm outside. Not Zab on the boy's backside appears some unknown man. He came closer to the boy and asked, "Are you Fanxian?" As soon as the guy heard this, he quickly went to hug him and not tell him it was his father, and he was finally back. The man was in a state of confusion. He pushed him away and said he wasn't his father. When he pulled away, he ripped his clothes off with him. He said, "Sorry, Dad. Have a soothing tea." But he told him again that he wasn't his father. He drank the tea the guy gave him. The man asked who made the tea. The boy said it was my mother. "Nonsense, your mother died the day you were born." But the boy replied that she was always there. "By the way, the fabric of my clothes is very strong, I even found it very difficult to scratch with a knife." How did a 4-year-old child manage to tear it? The boy shouted that his mother had come. And the man turned away. At that time she took it and with all her might stabbed him in the butt twice. The boy put all his strength into his fingers, thinking he could hold on to it. Who knew he could only get a grip on the rags? He didn't understand who it was. He used 100% of his energy to deliver 2 blows, but he was still breathing. "I'm afraid he's trying to kill me when he wakes up." And then he wanted to kill him, pulled out a knife, but he suddenly changed his mind. And he quickly ran to his uncle's shop. He says the shop is closed, if you want to buy something, come back tomorrow. The boy says that they are trying to kill him and to open the door. The uncle wanted to call the police. The boy says he doesn't want the police, so he kills him. "Let him want to kill me, I hurt him." "What a silly thing to say," the uncle replied. The boy started screaming that he urgently needed help and this was no time to pretend indifference. "So Adam was eating at this shop and refusing me, but now it's really important. He said that his uncle has to take care of him." He opened the doors and said the boy surprised him and they ran in there. When they got there he said he was alive. The boy was very surprised as he hit him twice and he was still alive. As soon as he tried to wake up, the boy hit him again. But uncle said that he was in fact the commander of the 3rd Revision Ward, he was his own. The boy was surprised and said, "Why didn't you tell me this before I smashed the table on him?" "You didn't ask," he replied. His name was Fei Jie and he was one of the top 3 masters of poisons in the world. He is good at both making and using them, as well as antidotes to them. Such a tough man, he wouldn't hold a grudge against me for hitting him, would he? The boy was very cruel and ruthless at his age. He told his uncle to silence him and kill him. "Even though he is under your father's authority, it was not clear why he came here." The man woke up and asked what happened to him. The boy began to say that he took a sip of tea and then just passed out. And the blood came out of his head because he hit the table when he fell. "Was it you already trying to be you?" he said. And the boy said it wasn't him and it was his uncle. "So that's it. I must have done something wrong for our great master to do something like that." But uncle said he did it. And he didn't do it once, he did it 3 times. The man said he didn't think you'd be in this valley, too. "I can't believe that after all these years in the capital you haven't changed at all, not inwardly or outwardly. What are you doing here?" Uncle asked. He said that La paid him a lot of money to become Master Fanxian. I also said no one had told them about it. The young master is maturing, and the earlier he starts his training, the better his chances in the future. "No matter what your opinion of me, if you wish, I will return to the capital," he said. "I'm sure the Lord will support you in that. and he replied that he didn't think it was that simple. There must be another reason why you came here. He lowered his eyes and said that the Lord was afraid that the box left by the mistress would be found by someone else. So he would like some advice. He was told that there was no need, she had destroyed it an eye before she died. Then he said it was fine. The man also began to say that he had always thought the young master was something strange. He was only 4 years old when he asked to be trained in Qigong. Wasn't he scared? It's really strange, that's why I didn't teach him. It's good that he has an uncle now. The boy got a kind of ominous feeling. The next day Feize came to his grandmother and said that Master Fan had introduced him as a mentor to the boy. A bandit attacked him on the way and told him not to worry about him. And he didn't turn the boy in. Said that even though the villain was looking for Dick, he would find a way to teach him a lesson. The maids looked on and marveled at the young master's new master. They said the new old man looked like an outlaw. They knew already that he would be their master's mentor. The boy told the teacher that he could not blame him for what happened because he had a knife in his hand and he was still young, and had not acted thoughtfully. The boy asked the teacher what he was going to teach him. I will teach you how to kill people with poison. And how not to be poisoned by others. The boy got very excited, and told us what we were waiting for. Let's start now. He wanted to catch 2 rats as test subjects. The teacher looked at him and couldn't believe he was really only 4 years old. The teacher and the master went on their way. They went to the graves. The teacher told the boy to choose a grave and then dig it up. He quickly chose a grave. He wanted help digging it, but the master told him to dig it himself. So he started digging. He quickly dug the hole and saw the coffin. He told the master that everything was ready, now he had to open the coffin. The master asked him if he understood why he had interrupted him here. The boy said of course, to perform autopsies to study the structure of the human body. This is an excellent first step. The teacher was very surprised how this child knew everything. And asked him if you're not the least bit scared. But the boy didn't even hear that and quickly started breaking the coffin. Next he gave him a knife and told him to open up the body and find out the cause of death. But the guy wasn't in much of a hurry to open it up. The teacher already thought he was finally scared. But he said he was scared, it's full of germs, you need some kind of protection, right? What kind of protection? The teacher asked. At least it's filthy. You have gloves. He was talking about how their glove, which is almost invisible on the hand. He was saying that concealment is a delicate job, how can you wear gloves? He had never heard of anything like that, just a good hand job, that's all. He seemed to have no other option and started to dissect the body. Since you're so smart, you can probably guess why I want to teach you how to use poisons, right? Asked the teacher. Someone is bound to want to kill me in the future. So I need to learn how to use poisons so that no one will be able to poison me. The boy said to the teacher to tell him more about his father. Wu Zhu is your mother's servant, a master of 4 great masters. Your mother was peerless. Then how did she die? The boy asked. He said he couldn't tell him that and asked how he got so many questions. The boy couldn't hold back any longer. And spat it all out of his mouth. The teacher said this was just the beginning. It would only get worse and started laughing. The next day, they sat at the table. The teacher gave him something to eat, telling him to hurry up and eat as he was tired after the previous night. Turns out this nasty old man has a good side too, thought the boy. Teacher, I notice that you are very polite, uncle. Are you afraid of him? Why would I be afraid? It's just respect, said the teacher. Isn't he tough? All warriors are divided into 9 ranks, and only 4 are ranked higher than 9. A teacher from Nanqing has never lost a duel in his life. A Qing dynasty master claims to be a nearer to the gods. A master from the city of Dongyi says he can defend the city with just a ball. There is another. He guards His Majesty's palace in Nanjing and has already saved him twice from assassination attempts. If one man had not done the deed, there would be 5 great masters in the world. Wow, I didn't think uncle was only cool. He once gave me a book. I must be very strong. Yes, the body really is strong, said the teacher. You are very strong, even though you have not trained for a long time. The amount of strength you have is far beyond your age and body. What is that, good or bad? You have to train your energy properly. Let me help you do this by sitting up straight. Let go of the energy and feel it flowing inside you. You are only 5. No matter how strong your true energy is, you won't surprise me. The boy sat down and started to feel his energy as much as possible. He began to feel to the point where his eyes lit up and he launched a power wave. When he opened his eyes, he saw that the teacher flew away from him. The boy ran up to him and asked what happened. Because of me you got hurt. You little asshole. How can you be so strong at 5 years old? I also feel like I'm pretty capable. Almost said it wasn't a compliment or a praise. If you keep practicing like that, I'm afraid your energy will just rip you apart. You're like a Sven pumpkin and your energy is wine. The more you practice, the more wine pours into the pumpkin. Sooner or later it just bursts. What am I supposed to do then? It's really bad, really bad. An uncle came into their room. The boy ran up to him and started saying that the energy he gave him was too much. He replied that he didn't give it to you. It was left to you by your mother. That energy has a name, thank you, boy. There's bossy and annoying. What a stupid name, the boy said. Ha ha ha, I'm really overreacting. This boy, given his strength, can probably handle Fan Xian's training in controlling the inner energy. Uncle said he wouldn't be able to teach him. They were surprised and didn't know what to do then. Speaking of which, how could his body contain so much internal energy? Is he even human? Terrible, better not to mess with him, said the teacher. The boy thought he was about to explode. But his uncle told him that he would not explode. Apparently, the master has a solution. Uncle, what solution do you have? Speak quickly. It's simple, don't practice. The next day they went to the forest and there were some mushrooms and the teacher tells him to eat them. The boy sat down. After that, the next hour the teacher could sleep in peace. Since the boy was under a safe watch. The teacher knew all about flowers and poisons. If it wasn't for the poison master around, he would have left this world a long time ago. The teacher says you've learned almost everything you can about poisons this year. You call that learning? Maybe this is your revenge, said the boy. But you've lived, so don't focus on the process. If I wanted to survive, I don't know how many times I'd have kicked the bucket, said the guy. After all this, I can leave with peace of mind, said the teacher. Leave? Are you going back to the capital? Yes, I received a letter. I am going back in a month. Another month? Master said he has to avenge what happened a year ago before he leaves. Haven't you bullied me enough this year? They went outside and the teacher put different jars on the table. Think about what kind of poison it is, when it got into you and how. Only then can I be sure that I can leave you. Guys, taste the first poison. A bitter taste, it must have been mixed with the medicine, so I didn't notice. The teacher told him to try and use what he had learned and to choose the right bottle. The boy tried everything and chose only one bottle. The teacher told him to drink it. The teacher opened the umbrella. Suddenly the boy started splashing blood. I told you to choose, but I didn't tell you there was an antidote inside. The boy didn't understand who could be a teacher like him. If so, why don't you send me off, said the teacher. If you can do it, I recognize your skills. Agreed? Saw agreed. The next day, the boy brought the teacher chicken and wine. You've been so nice lately. Don't you want to say goodbye to me, asked the teacher. Of course, replied the boy, enjoy your dinner, I won't interrupt. The teacher stopped the boy and told him to take the wine and leave the food. He told him to be hard on him. He could smell poisons in the wine. Next thing you know, the teacher was lying down. He began to bleed. The boy began to say that he had lost. The teacher didn't understand what he was using. Time. All these days, I have been feeding you the best meat and fish, which I cooked with special tonic herbs. And the soup that I cooked using those same herbs. And you've been devouring it all these days, thus making your blood thicker. As a result, eating a lot of tonic herbs equivalent to consuming poison. You're pretty smart, said the teacher. The boy was very happy that he could beat the teacher. Next, the boy and the teacher were walking through the forest with the horse. The teacher should have been leaving by now. Just stick to your way, places people will always change, said the teacher. In all these years, the only person I could trust was my uncle. And now there is one more person. Don't forget that there's always one naughty boy here to welcome you. Even if I want to forget, I won't forget, said the teacher. The teacher took out the inspection commissioner's badge and said what he was asked to pass on. Your mother once gave it to us for safekeeping, so it is rightfully yours. The boy said he had a gift too. These are gloves made of sheep's guts. Remember to take them with you when you dissect corpses and experiment with poisons. The teacher said he liked it. If I'd met you sooner, I'd have taken a different path. Married someone and raised you to be a farmy asshole. The teacher left, followed by the boy saying he could count on him in the future. Sounds nice and scary at the same time. The boy was left alone with his uncle. Uncle, don't you drink? I bought this wine especially for you. If you don't want to drink it, I'll drink it myself. Children shouldn't drink alcohol, Uncle said. La la la. Actually, I wanted to ask you a lot of things. For some reason, 40 years, your appearance hasn't changed a bit. What kind of person my mother was? If you don't drink, where do you get your wine bowls from? My teacher said you're no match even among the 4 greats in martial arts, is that true? Uncle? The boy's eyes began to close. And he woke up in a bamboo field. He was very sick and didn't know what was wrong with him. After you got drunk last night, your energy went wild. Uncle, you gave me this book, you must be able to control that energy. Teach me. I said I can't. Now what do we do? Uncle said he had another way to help him. He'll beat him. And then? And why are you and the teacher making fun of me? You need to use up your inner energy as soon as possible. Otherwise you'll be torn, just like you were told before. Direct the energy to your feet, that way you'll see your speed. The uncle ran away and the boy ran after him. The boy ran very fast, he had never run so fast before. It turns out that energies can be used like that. It turns out that if he runs for a long time, he can avoid the explosion. Suddenly his uncle runs up to him and hits him so hard that he flees into the lake. Running alone is not enough, you have to have sharp eyesight and quick reactions. Then others can't hurt you. So you're accusing me of not being good enough? Yes. The boy began to run very fast from his uncle. It turns out, thanks to the concentration of power in his legs, he can run very fast. If he could run out of the forest, who could avoid his uncle's attacks? He ran out, so far away. Uncle won't be able to catch up with him, he thought. But his uncle comes and hits him on the ground. The boy was surprised, the teacher had just left, but a worse monster immediately took his place. If you can hit me or at least keep your clothes on, consider yourself tested, my uncle said. The boy had plenty of energy and was not going to hurt him, only touches his clothes. But as soon as he tried, he immediately flew back into the stone. And all the following blows were unsuccessful. Here the boy is now 16 years old. He kept trying to hit his uncle, but all the blows were unsuccessful. Uncle, could you take it easy? Score. You're strong enough, training's over. But I still haven't beaten you. I don't need any credit, I want to keep going. Suit yourself. Next, the lad's maid gave him a massage. She hit the master with a teddy bear, didn't she? And the master is still so young. I could feel it all when I was a kid. But years later, when I noticed changes in my body, I finally understood. Beat me, train my vision and reaction, train my fighting instinct. Squatting, laying foundations, cutting carrots, toning my mind. He's beating me for my own good. The young gentleman seems to have had the last of his brains beaten off. He says it's all nothing. The real danger is a guard in red robes. The real danger? Suddenly the boy put his arms around the girl and said, let's forget about it. Is it possible to go such a good day with this talk? Young master, what is this you? The next day, when the lad was training, he heard horses. It sounded like a whole troop of men, there were clearly quite a few of them. When he opened the door he saw very many guards in red clothing. The boy was frightened, but suddenly they all bowed down to him and told him that by order of Master Fan Xian he must return to the capital. Hearing this, the boy quickly ran to his grandmother's house. Grandmother, at the gate some people who had come to pick me up in the capital. I had already refused. The capital is not a good place. That's where your mother died. She would have outlived her daughter if she had stayed in our village. They all kneel and gloriously insist that I must go. Well, let them stand like that until they die. Grandma, you're so cool. I get it. Then the boy was with his uncle and told him that he had a serious question on his mind lately. To go to the capital or not, he said. How do you know what I mean? Why do they want to take me to the capital? Uncle, you said my mother died there, are the men who killed her still there? On the one hand, I want it, but at the same time it's a bit dangerous. Uncle, you said that if I faced danger. Before he could finish his sentence, Uncle said he was going with the boy. Uncle, there's something else I've wanted to ask you for a long time. When I wake up in my 80s, will your face stay the same? He was silent. The master went to lunch. He didn't understand why Granny hadn't come. He was told that she was engrossed in reading, so she asked to beat the loner. Well, the lad replied. He put some food on a plate and said he would finish it in his room. One plate? What to do with the rest? The usual, just eat. Hell, even if this illegitimate child doesn't follow the rules, it still looks like a host. Whispered the steward. According to custom, servants can only eat what the master leaves behind. But the young master really only takes a bite out of each meal. That's right. I don't understand why the mistress likes him so much. Let's share the food with the others. His maid ran after him and asked what had happened. He said he had been poisoned. Someone had sent this dish. I always taste the dishes before I let Grandma and the onions touch the game. To avoid something like that. And I got some, and he was fine. This poison was called catnip. It is often used by spies from the Watchers' Council. Maukuzi, and it was a fruit from the southern islands whose sap does not show up in any way when mixed with other foods. It is extremely difficult to detect. That is why spies use it to commit murders that need to be concealed. Once the poison enters the stomach, it takes effect, causing people to convulse and die. In addition, the cause of death in such cases is almost impossible to determine. It has a faint aftertaste. The only drawback is its slightly bitter tang. The killer must have known this, so he mixed it with bamboo shoots. He's clearly well versed in poisons. On a country that's not even lethal, the only thing that might be diarrhea. Do you happen to know where we got these sprouts? He asked the maid. Lao Ha's nephew brought them this morning. Doesn't Lao Ha usually do this himself? Why is his nephew under me today? They say he is sick, so his nephew is doing the delivery today. Is something wrong? Nephew? Lao Ha is lonely, why does he have a nephew? Is this nephew supposed to be the killer? Poisoned, but not murdered. So what's he up to? The guy quickly started to go somewhere. The skier didn't know where he started to go. But he said it was okay, he wouldn't be gone for long. And he told her to stay home as it might be dangerous there. He wants to see him. Wants to know why he did it. When he got to him he saw that he was tied up. Apparently, the killer wanted to get rid of him. First he decided to save him and then he asked him everything. He said that he had come to save him and asked who had done this to you. Suddenly he told the master to turn around. A guy with a knife rushed out. The guy noticed this and took out his knife and repulsed his attack. Poisoning is your handiwork, he asked. He took off his mask and there he saw that it was the fourth member of the Nanjing Council. He seems to be getting orders to kill me. When he wanted to run up at him, he shouted for him to stop. And told my grandfather to move away, and said he could now teach him a lesson. The killer started throwing a lot of blades at him. And the boy didn't understand how he got so many skates, and though there were so many, from all of them he was able to bow. He ran up to him and they began to fight. The killer hit the boy with his knife, and it looks like he put poison on his dagger. After he hit the boy, he said he lost. I didn't expect you to have that kind of power at such a young age. Pity you missed the blow. The poison in the food makes people unable to move, but the poison on the dagger kills. Killers are all cruel, that's the way it is. The boy only laughed. Haven't you heard that a villain dies from talking too much? Suddenly the boy began to fall to the ground and realized that the boy's sword was also dispatched. What he was saying was that he'd been drugged with poison since he was a kid. And with a simple poison like his you can't take it. He put the sword to him and asked what its purpose was. If you are determined to poison me, why is the dose non-lethal? Asked the boy. I only want to kill you. I don't want to involve the others. Is this kind of mercy typical for a killer? Who sent you? This is an inspection order, to kill a traitor. Me? Traitor? You don't understand who they are. No one can save the man the inspectorate is hunting. You may still be breathing, but in our eyes you are long dead. If I die, someone else will replace me. The guy showed him the badge of the 3rd Inspectorate. And told him it was his teacher. He couldn't believe that Mr. Fajia was his teacher. I'm 16 years old, I lost my mother when I was a kid. Since I'm a bastard child, I've never seen my father and have lived here all my life. With my experience in life, do you think I'd have time to earn the status of a traitor? What you said makes sense. I get it. Someone may have transmitted a false order to eliminate you. You're not gonna kill me? It's a misunderstanding. Why would I kill you? If someone wants to take you out and my attempt to kill you fails, other mercenaries will show up to silence me. This has nothing to do with me. By the way, I have one more question for you. Our rules are very strict. How did you manage to get behind Lao Ha's nephew? Only showing up on our doorstep once. Who helped you with the paperwork? It was the manager, said Mercenaire. When he came home with his grandmother, they tied him up. He said they might kill him and he didn't want others to get hurt, so he did it for the sake of our family. For the family? I am listening to you, grandmother said. I was sent by the second mistress to look after Fanxian. If this guy goes to the capital, he's bound to start a lawsuit over the family property. To avoid that, it's easier for him to request to appear there for the rest of his days. It's logical. For the sake of the family stability, soft-heartedness must be discarded. Said Granny. What? Do you agree with him, Granny? Are you on his side? You have to remember that as you get older you have to learn to be ruthless. Come in, she said. Grandmother, what are you up to? Didn't understand the boy. Madam, you are so wise, said the steward. Break his legs and put him in a boat so that he cannot set foot on land until his last breath. Said the grandmother mercilessly. He didn't understand why didn't you say you couldn't stand the boy? Was it all a lie? What were you thinking about? Grandma asked. She used to send me presents during the holidays. I was so pleased. Grandma said we didn't know if his words were true. Said she'd write to his father and ask him to check. The guy said he shouldn't write and that he'd find out on his own. Will you go to the capital? The grandmother asked in surprise. Didn't we agree that you would stay in the valley? Grandmother, you can see that I've grown up and I haven't seen anything yet. Once there was the first killer, there'll be a second, there'll be a third. And instead of hiding, I could have gone there myself. Have you made up your mind to go to the capital? Granny asked. Yes, I will go back when everything is fine. Anyway, there are problems to be solved. And when will you go? Grandmother asked. Tomorrow. Grandma said she won't go out to see him off. I'm getting old, and I don't like saying goodbye. The master and his murderer were sitting by the lake. Suddenly the killer says he wants to ask him for a favor. He says he wants him to kill him. Kill you? Oh, you mean help you hide your identity? Because you betrayed your employer? I didn't betray anyone, but I've got a ride that needs to be dealt with. What's in it for me? Asked the boy. Don't you want to know? What tricks did the second mistress use to mislead the inspection institute? The boy didn't understand anything and told him to speak normally. Oh, I mean, this way your investigation will go faster. I mean, I get it. Then I look forward to our fruitful cooperation. Next, the boy went to his uncle in the grocery shop. He came up and said he was going to the capital. The uncle said, all right. Uncle, you've been looking after me all these years, don't you have things you'd like to do, people you care about, or plans for the rest of your life? What do you mean? Don't you need me anymore? Uncle asked. What? I always need you. And I don't have anyone more important than you. Uncle, going to the capital tomorrow. I will go to whoever wishes me dead and try to find out what happened to my mother. It's a great option, because I'll be doing what I've always wanted to do. Last time you told me you would come with me to the capital and protect me, but I hope you'll do what's right for you and start living for yourself at last. I'm off, said the lad and left. The uncle was puzzled. Take up what's good for you, live for yourself? The guy starts to pack up his things. And his uncle comes up to him and tells him that he has found something he wants to do. He brought a big, black box. He says his mistress brought it and he wants to open it. You told me the same thing your mother once told me. She always wanted me to find something I like to do. What? Mom left this behind. And how to open it, the kid didn't understand. He said he needed a key, but he didn't have one. Uncle, why don't we just break it down? Uncle pulled out his sword and hit it as hard as he could, hitting it so hard that the table broke. But the box was still intact. What was it made of anyway, and where did my mother get it from? The kid didn't understand. Where is the key? My uncle said that the key is in the capital, so I am coming with you. He said he would go first and meet him there. And the box can stay here. The boy stayed and still looked at the box. What was the box made of? What kind of thing needed such protection? The boy did not understand. The boy had already packed up and came to his grandmother in a final hug, kissed her and told her to take care of herself. Said he'd come back to get her out of here when he'd sorted things out. The lad kissed his ground and rode the horses to the capital. He did not want to take the maid with him as he did not know what would happen in the capital and did not want to put her in danger. They had already traveled a long way and decided to make a halt, a roaring fire, and soup. The master asked his assassin if he knew why his father needed him in the capital. I think it's obvious, you do need to prepare for your future role. The boy coughed. And said that as far as I was concerned, you were being prepared for a wedding. Believe it or not, Section 4 is in charge of espionage and inspections, and Section 6 is in charge of murder. I'm a member of both, so there's no mistake. The DA's office is quick and decisive. If the people in Section 6 decide to do something, you're a dead man. No, even if it's someone from Section 6, my uncle will decide everything in seconds. The guy asked if he knew who his bride would be. He replied that the Dacha was the prime minister of the present dynasty. The lad was very surprised that the prime minister, with him an illegitimate child. Miss Lin's family is extremely virtuous and they have a good reputation in the capital. But her health is poor and she has recently fallen seriously ill, so they are in a hurry. Something is not right here, thought the boy. So that's why, it makes sense. So, I turn out to be some kind of lucky charm. You're about to be married to a girl who's about to die and your reaction is no anger. The guy said there was no use for her face. On the contrary, he felt sorry for her. She is forced to marry a man she has never met because of her poor health. The guy also added that, firstly, my leaving for the capital does not mean I will accept this marriage. Secondly, if I agree to the marriage, I have to like the other party. Thirdly, even if this girl is literally bedridden, I don't see what the big deal is. Fourthly, you probably don't know, but not only am I good with poisons, but I'm also a very good healer. Well, give it a try. See how you cope with a disease that even the emperor's doctors didn't want, said the lad, and left for the motor home. Anyway, we'll wait and see. I wonder, is she pretty? Pretty? Maybe she's a lowly? 2 months later. The boy arrived in the capital. When he arrived, he was very surprised. The place was completely different from what he thought he would see here. Everything there was colorful and beautiful. This world is quite interesting. In the meantime, one of the assassins came to the king. He said that the mission to kill him had failed. He was on his way to the capital. The guy came to the capital, for him it was all unbelievable. The girl at the entrance said that the master was not in the mansion yet. Before he left, he had ordered a very good and warm welcome for Madam and the master. If you need anything you can come to me, said the girl. How unexpected. His father, whom he had never met before, was so interested in him. The boy walked around his palace and was very surprised. To have such a large residence in the capital, where there is a war for every millimeter of land, was something out of the ordinary. Father seems to be an extraordinary man indeed. But the people he met and could get his way were deliberately beating him to the punch because of his status as an illegitimate child. He didn't care because he thought his father should be ashamed of having an illegitimate child. And he was told that the second mistress thanked him to come and see her after you had laid out your things and settled in. Yes, the capital is not his home valley. His politeness to the servants doesn't seem appropriate here. The lad was summoned with him and told to wait. She must not have arrived yet, so the servants were not sure if he could be let in. In that case, all he had to do was wait. The guy dares to sit on the chair. Everyone was very surprised at how he dared to do this. The younger generation must stand meekly until the elders arrive. Where did he get so much pathos? Discussed with the maids. If Madam sees this, he will not be well. Behind them, the mistress, who was the mistress of the mansion, was jealous of all the inner workings of the mansion. She approached the boy and said that you must have been very tired on the road and so you sat down. He said hello to his aunt. And she sat down too. The aunt started asking him how his grandmother was doing. The boy started to say that a murderer had come to his house a few days ago, but luckily there was no danger. Otherwise everything is fine. Thank you for your concern, he said. Madam thought about the fact that he was deliberately clinging to the word auntie and not calling him his second wife like the others. He is not making it clear that there is a big difference between the words. She told him to just go inside the house next time. She said it wouldn't do any good to have people gossiping about who the mansion is. He agreed. And thought about how she couldn't stand people. Of course, he is a reminder of the connection on your spouse's side. Madam said that his father works in the housekeeping department. She asked him if he had come here to become an examiner or if he was planning to join the service straight away. He replied that he would do as his father said and asked when he would be back. It won't be long now, she replied. Suddenly and very quickly a girl walked in on them. Brother, it was you, she said. This was the most talented girl in the capital. Good at piano, chess drawing, and calligraphy. She was his little sister. Pleased to meet you, brother, she said and wanted to bow. But he replied that there was no need for ceremony. Fan Jian's son also came to them and tapped his foot. Who was this boy? Asked the boy. He replied that he was the young master of the Fan family. From this very bastard child, he asked him and laughed. And the boy realized that apparently the mistress had decided to use his youth and ignorance to make a fuss and embarrass the boy. You look scrawny, definitely not marriageable, he said. It seemed that if he was not to bring trouble on the family in future with his tongue, he had to be brought up immediately. Just as he was about to say something, his sister shouted out her hand. His brother gave him his hands and she started beating him and saying, "What? First of all, you can't call your brother by his name. Secondly, you should remember our family status and not say such stupid things. Thirdly, punishment for such disrespect to your brother is a natural thing. Right, brother? Yes, he answered. He cried and ran to his mother. The brother asked why he was acting this way. She said it was because he was a stupid pig, unable to think for himself. So that's how it is. By the way, why did you hit his arm with a ruler? Father let me exercise his discipline, she said. Yes, it's different from what I imagined about things within the family. I'm not strong enough right now, said the sister. Don't forget that your power depends on the attitude of one particular person towards you, said brother. Brother, you too must not forget that this man is our father, and even though we've been texting, it's been so long since we've chatted in person, I've missed moments like this, said my sister. Video that you're doing well, I'm not so worried anymore, said my brother. Thanks to your advice, the mood within the family has indeed become calmer. The boy did not think that the story of his past life would be repeated. And the boy said that even though he had lived in the valley all his life, he was aware of his mistress' status, so he was polite to her. And the brother asked if she had received his letter. Yes, I received it last night. It was composed by a man in black, and it made me very afraid. And my brother asked her if she knew the reason he came here. She replied that she knew the reason why the guy was very surprised. The sister also added that everyone already knew, and the boy thought that his father had brought him here secretly. My sister said that all the aristocratic children were curious as to what business brought an illegitimate child to the capital, all because the girl your father had chosen for you was very famous. The boy said he understood that marrying the Prime Minister's daughter was really quite serious business, but it wasn't just that. She had to correct him, to the Prime Minister's daughter out of wedlock. For 10 years in a row, the capital city has held its title as the most prosperous city. It's a tiny and independent world of prosperity, but unfortunately, it's also home to some of the most corrupt officials in history. Their head is Prime Minister Lin Yadufu. He came from a poor family, and he has come step by step to his current position in society. He works cunningly, fiercely, but he pretends to be an angel, which in reality he never keeps his promises and never listens to the people. And such a man has a daughter out of wedlock. Why supply him with himself was not understood by his brother. Rumor has it that news of his illegitimate daughter has spread from the palace. Woe from the palace! It might have been done by the emperor himself. This Iran was the talk of the aristocrats, so he was, in fact, simply forced to acknowledge her existence. But in the end, the emperor interceded for him, so the situation became even more confusing and unclear. And frankly, your reaction is rather strange and unexpected. Why didn't you react when you knew you were about to be married to a daughter who wasn't illegitimate? Reaction? I had her beat. I can't wait to ask the man what his intentions were in picking me up such a bride. Sister, let's take a walk around town sometime, remember the good old days. Now the lad's gone because his father's come. When they met they didn't know what to say to one another. Dad told him to go get him. And they went into the other room. Dad said that he was a lot like his mother. And he asked him how he'd been living in the valley all these years. The boy said that apart from the mercenary who wanted to kill him, nothing interesting. You know the reason why I summoned you to the capital, don't you? Of course I do. Are you resentful of me? No. When I was taken to the capital, I wasn't told that I had to marry the Prime Minister's daughter, so our family decided to gain a lot of influence through this marriage. Fine, you're angry, my father replied. I didn't get any news from the valley. I think you're a man who doesn't show emotion at all. My advice to you is to let your emotions run wild, or you'll languish. The son told him he was the kind of man you could push around. The father said he didn't mean to push him around. But this marriage, like it or not, was necessary, and it's not up for discussion, the father said. Why don't you understand that, child? Your daughter is gentle and attentive, clever and sensible and very beautiful indeed. Besides, you realize that even with our status, marriage is the best way to stabilize our situation. The boy was silent. Doesn't the Prime Minister's daughter equal you? Judging by his demeanor and tone, he is quite sincere. So why should I marry her? I did not understand the prices. Because her mother is the younger sister of the princess. The princess never married. Instead, she secretly ran the palace's affairs. It was she who ensured a steady flow of money to the palace and to the entire capital. Now you understand why you should marry her, don't you? It really is a big rumor. The Prime Minister is having an affair with a princess. No wonder he rose so swiftly and smoothly through the ranks with no connections or money. The princess has one sole heiress, and she herself has long been involved in affairs of state. Whoever marries her can eventually become head of the imperial family, the company that is now under the princess's control. It used to be owned by the family? That's right, father answered. That company originally belonged to your mother, so you'll just take what's rightfully yours. I admire your foresight, father. But can this marriage really bring the family business back to mother? Of course, unfortunately, it's not without its difficulties. Don't forget that I'm in charge of the housekeeping department, their finances. However, the Prime Minister has doubts about this marriage. So I hope you'll do well in the capital, said the father. The strength of the partnership and the mutual benefit why he has doubts didn't understand the boy. Their family is one of the most important in the capital and Lin Ruofu is a civil servant. He worries that this marriage will arouse His Majesty's suspicions, which will lead to big trouble. The son understands everything. It turns out nothing has been decided yet. You shaved your head too soon. It's all a unilateral decision in our family. Shave my head? Remember, no one must know about our conversation today. Otherwise, they won't live. My son answered what he knows, and he'll be very careful. For I am one who does not fear death. After today's conversation, it seemed to the boy that his father still had warm feelings for him. It seemed that the reason he had been sent here was that the man who had killed his mother was still in the capital. We'll have to find out more about that later, the boy said. But whether he really wanted to get married to the big girl the boy did not understand. Wouldn't that be tantamount to lying to her? No, I'm not like that, not just sorry for her. He also didn't have the key to the briefcase from my mum. He said he didn't care. His head was about to explode from all the information and stress. So he went to bed. At the same time, his father was standing on the balcony, thinking that his little boy is all grown up. He's smart beyond his years. Ping was against him coming here, so he brought him in while he was on holiday. One man guarantees that the family's property will be returned to his son. But no one will harm him here. The next day, all three children were driving around town. The sister was giving the boy a piece of candy which was very sour. The second brother was saying that it was definitely his sister, from the fierce look that usually melts the snowy peaks of the mountains. He also told the brother that he should know that he had only taken him along for his sister's sake. And I thought you were following us, said the brother. And he got very angry and said that he had to respect him. Next he heard something that smelled very good. They were at the inn. There they could go down and get something to eat. As the lad was coming out, his grandmother sneaked up on him and asked him if he needed the book, Forbidden Ka. It's the most popular novel in the capital. Luck smiled on you today. It was hard to find, she said. He looked and saw the title Dream in the Red Terem. Isn't that so, the book he was rewriting? He read a bit of the book, and he was very surprised to give the money to his grandmother. And he took the book with him. When he came to the boys, they asked him where he was. His brother said he saw out the window buying a book from some old lady. Said that he advised not to buy such things if you wanted to avoid being blamed. What kind of a book, did my sister ask. Do you remember the Dream in the Red Terem? The one I told you about? Of course I do, said sister. And he gave the book to his sister. She read it and was very surprised because it was the first time she had seen the book. He said it was all right, and he didn't see anything. He understood that she would not be able to resist sharing the book she liked with her friends. But he was not at home that this book would be distributed by different vendors. Her sister said that maybe the princess would do it. One day she came to chat with her and happened to see this book that you transcribed for me. She made copies for herself and took it with her. My sister said what she didn't think would happen, that it would become public domain and seem to be in the possession of hundreds of people. So first the book spread among us and then it hit the market. I really underestimate the power of piracy. Brother, look at the book and ask if he wrote the book, if it's his rock body. What did you read, and what are you unhappy about then? He was saying what's true, he read it. And he praised the author for his extraordinary political ear and sophistication. So you're starting to admire me already? Yeah, you can make a lot of money, wrote Yaroslav. That's so cool, my brother said. And raised my respect for him. No wonder your sister admires you so much. The guy's starting to realize he's got more respect for him, not because of his book, but because of the money he could potentially make. He says this manuscript is on the market in huge quantities. They're charging at least 8 pieces of silver for one copy. He says only he has the body to write such masterpieces, and if she's at home to make some money, let her know who to go to. Unfortunately, they have a conflict of interest. Even if he does not know anything about it, he will not be able to develop a potential enemy with the day. But they are blood brothers. Many potential tragedies can be avoided if the relationship between them is benign. It may indeed be possible to let his brother think about it. And he asked him why he had followed him. Was he not supposed to be doing it now? He replied that his mother had allowed it, saying that he needed to spend more time with his brother so that he could be a positive influence on him. And the boy realized that he and the sweetheart knew how to pretend. Apparently he would do anything for money. The guy said that we could collaborate, and so he got really excited. My sister read the book, said it was a very good book. On those damn speculators deliberately distorted some parts. A common marketing ploy. Don't take it so personally. After all, it makes sense that people buy the book. Look at the opening segment. The snippet was placed on the front page, changes the original message of the book. Such a delightful text is being sold as some kind of non-consensual. They have to do it to boost sales. Besides, if the brother does it, he'll be a lot braver than they are. He said that there were 10 chapters in one volume, so he would write 10 chapters and make a title page. His job was to make sure that with each chapter the interest of the readers would increase, so that they would want to buy the book to finish at home. He would break it up into several chapters and add jokes, songs. And he will be able to use the Yangchu as an introductory fragment. In the text itself, all delicate words would have to be highlighted in red ink. He was confident that this set of random words would encourage the customer to continue reading. It turns out my brother is interfered with by such obscenities, said my sister. Nothing wrong with that, just a way to get attention. My mother was right. Brother, you really are capable, said he. From now on, I won't move from you. And who are you, by child? His mistress' intentions were clear to him. It was obvious that she had sent him to keep an eye on the boy. The people who sat opposite them must have been of very high status. They were saying that they were not talented. Let them talk nonsense, there was no point in shouting back at them, he said. His brother told them to come over and he would beat them up. He walked up to these guys. And when he walked up, these men said what his bro's book is, a real masterpiece. You're not telling the truth, you're telling the opposite. The guy started to get indignant and say, how dare you say such things about my brother? He starts jumping on the man. And says he's the law. But when he tried to hit him, they grabbed him and they didn't understand what kind of trash dared to raise his hand against the Lord. The Lord said to let him go, and not to spoil his reputation. The lad threw him very far away, but his brother grabbed him. And said that his brother was young and you had hurt his feelings, but that was too much on your part. The gentleman began to say something that the girl looked very familiar to him. Isn't she the most talented girl in the capital? And this guy with him must be the young master. And whose son is it that possesses such impudence? And this is the child of that woman. Who are you? Asked the boy. He is the only son of a minister who serves in the palace. He says he is offended, yes, that a member of the Fang family has decided to use his power to oppress others. Oppress? Scholars like you are inferior in your talents, but you have ambition. You so-called talents, instead of studying diligently, disappear to places like this. What about ambition? What about humility? I don't think your family's influence will help you after making statements like that. I did not have that in mind. All of you at this table who are close to the court are not afraid of power. You respect yourselves and stand up for your opinions. It's admirable. You're so skinny. Aren't you afraid that one day you'll just be swept away by a current of wind from your fans? Or is that your way of expressing self-respect? Yes, the truth doesn't teach them that. You can only be born with it. The gentleman said to beat him up, but the guard who tried to hit him missed, and the lad hit him with all his might, so that he flew out the window. The gentleman said he was going to regret it. All the visitors looked on and wondered. They had often seen fights here, but this was the first time they had seen aristocrats involved. He took him down with a single blow. No wonder the family ranks so high in the capital. And that's when Li Hun approaches them. He's the prince's boss. Brother, this is the eldest son of the prince's mansion. Our families have been friends for many generations. Your Highness, this is the brother I was talking about, said the sister. I have just caught a glimpse that there was some trouble here, he asked. The Lord said that there was, and he asked for justice to be done for them. But the prince said that he was communicating with his friends. He would not like anyone to interfere with their conversation. So he ran away. The prince said what he was not maliciously asking, of the pure, learned, and there are those who pretend. I just have my own opinion about so-called, gifted students. That used to be what people with outstanding talent were called. But nowadays, to carry this title it is enough to have connections. There is too much outward affectation and too little intelligence in these scholars. And the country would not benefit from them. The prince replied that it makes sense. Your train of thought is quite interesting, you must come to me to discuss it, said the prince. The three of them left, and when they came out of the room the Lord was standing there. They did not understand what he wanted from them. Perhaps he wanted to fight again. A new and unique nation has been created to protect people from the dangers of a brutal nature. It was called the Blue Moon. Its ruler was a wise and kind man who governed the country diligently and justly. The citizens of the Blue Moon lived a carefree life in harmony under his tutelage. But that was until he was assassinated in a coup d'état. And soon, a rebellion engulfed the whole country. The land became a blazing inferno, filled with the hatred of those around it and the ashes of the dead. The water was poisoned and polluted, and the common people had no food or water. The streets were in utter chaos. People were fighting against each other. And killer robots also began to consume the world. Many people lost their future to the so-called cold blades. And that's when ordinary people lost all hope to the rebels. There he appears. He was a big and muscular guy who had a red mask on his head. The man in the red mask killed the leader of the rebels and ended the war. He became a folk hero who brought peace back to everyone. And they called this legendary hero the Red Man. It is now 100 years after the end of the war. The headmaster and part-time history teacher was telling the story. A girl asked her teacher why the war had ended so long ago and they were still living in a slum and not on a blue moon. The girl's neighbor replied that it was because we were the villains in the story. The teacher said that the truth is that you are the descendants of the rebels who once almost destroyed the blue moon. But despite your past, remember that 9 of you are innocents. And that was the end of the history lesson. It was time for lunch, and before going to eat the children decided to help Mr. Kim. Kim was their teacher who was in the garden picking berries. They helped their teacher and all went out to eat together. Today, they were eating beans. Basically the same as yesterday and the day before. The boy called Harjin could no longer eat them and he threw them away and said he would never touch them again. The other children looked at him and said he couldn't be so bad. Their teacher heard all this and came up to them. He told Harjin that he had to eat the beans. Do you know why? I know, the boy answered. It's because the people who live in the slums die of hunger every day and have nothing to eat. So we should be grateful to the school for the food and eat it without complaint. True to the teacher's answer. But also because the beans will help you grow healthy and big. A boy called Peksun bent down and started to eat the beans that the boy had thrown off the floor. But he was told not to eat them from there because he might get sick if he eats dirty food. But the boy had already swallowed them. The caretaker's name was Kim. Although he had an unusual name, he had an ordinary job in a slum. It was the only school in the slum. But the place was really like an orphanage. There was only him, the headmaster, and 9 other children in the school. Those children were all he had. They were his whole world. And so he finished his work, and thanks to him they were briefly protected from the rain. He wondered what the children were doing now and decided to go to them. The children were playing in the meantime. The boy pretended to be a red man. And he wanted to end this war. They were fans of the red man. Everyone wanted to be him or at least look like him. A teacher came up to them and told them that games were good and fun. But he told them to be careful how you take other people's things. The teacher told the boy to take Mara and play with him on the playground. He agreed and they went to play football. Now he had to get this mask in order. He looked at the mask, he started looking her straight in the eyes. And while he was looking he started to feel something. It was to the point where his eyes started to get very red. But suddenly the headmaster comes up to him and says that he's been looking for that mask. Did Teshin take it again? Yes, he did. The headmaster didn't understand what he liked about such a creepy mask. The guy took it every chance he got. But whether it was creepy or not, it was just an ordinary mask, Kim answered. It was the principal's favorite thing. When Kim touched it, his heart beat much faster and he got hot. He didn't understand how it was or why it was possible. At this time it started to rain outside and they decided to go and take things off. It had recently been sunny outside, but for some reason it had suddenly become very cloudy. The headmaster says to Kim that he has been hearing strange rumors lately. What? What kind of rumors? Kim didn't understand. Some men in suits are kidnapping children. But the principal didn't think they'd come to a place like this with mountains all around them. But, as the children's guardians, they have to be careful. And warn everyone in advance. The children were playing football, they were enjoying themselves and having fun. And as they were playing, the ball flew to the fence. The boy saw it and ran to get the ball. When he came closer he saw that there were some trucks standing there. Kim, thanks to the principal and the girl Soen, finished quicker before it started to rain. But then a guy runs up to them who looks like he's been beaten. He started to say in a panic that Teshin and the others had been grabbed by some men. They were taking everyone with them without pity. And the guy didn't know what to do about it. Ho ho ho, we're not strange men. A voice came from the corridor. It was some mutant who said he was a scientist sent by the Blue Moon. His name was Noggle. He said he came here to find exceptional young talent to help their city, and he was indeed fortunate to find 9 children in this slum. He also said he would express his joy, but he had no lips or eyelids. What are you talking about? Kim asked. They were very frightened. Are you the kidnappers from the rumor mill? And then another man walks up to Noggle. And there were a lot of guys in black suits behind him. He starts saying that Kim's right and they're trafficking people. Well, now he wants to kill them and take all the kids. It's amazing to think that little kids could somehow get away from us. He told the guys who were with him to grab him no matter what. The principal told them to get out of here fast and started covering them with himself. He got in front of the guys in black and started screaming that they wouldn't go through him. But then there was a gunshot. I'm sorry, but I'm tired of these dramatic scenes, the boss said, and killed him with a shot to the heart. Kim tried to run away, but didn't make it and got shot too. The kids started crying and they were grabbed by these men. They took them with them. Kim was still breathing. He hadn't experienced what he'd heard before. He couldn't think that such a thing could happen to him. Because no one comes to this godforsaken place. Ever. This was their paradise, where they could wander in peace through the ruins that remained after the war. They thought they had finally found happiness. But in an instant that dream was shattered. The headmaster gets up with the last of his strength and says that every day thousands of people die in the slums. So he built a school in the mountains to protect the children. But he failed. So he pulls out a mask from his jacket and says, "You must protect them and save their future." He puts it on Kim and dies. And so the guy gets a second wind. Max's breath begins to consume him. And suddenly he opens his eyes. He begins to grow very quickly in size and feel that he has become unimaginably strong. The men who grabbed the kids decided to split up. And some of the cars have already left. But as the guy of one more car decided not to go right away because he wanted a smoke. That was his big mistake. He didn't realize how much danger he was in. Suddenly, the driver starts hearing some shouting and some rumbling. So when he decides to look out the window, he sees that some big, dopey guy in a paint mask killed his partner. And he's already lying on the floor without his head. He didn't understand what was happening and didn't know who it was. Out of fear, he tried to drive away straight away and started hitting the gas. But that didn't help him, and the red man grabbed his car and threw it to the floor with all his might. He then grabbed the driver by the neck and lifted him up. He wanted to ask him where his children were, but he didn't want to say anything, and that's why he died. The girl they were carrying got out of the truck as her door was smashed and she saw her hero, the red man. These guys in black thought that man's social role was predestined from birth. And they were the ones in whom the noble blood of the blue moon flowed. And all men were to worship them. The teacher took the girl with him and they went into the classroom. He tried to take off his mask, but all attempts were unsuccessful. He would rather break his neck than take the mask off. Moreover, the fact that he was wearing it made him angry all the time. The girl was scared and did not understand why her teacher had turned into a red man, but she could not see that he was happy about being a red man. As he looked not like a hero but like a monster. He kept trying to take off his mask and still didn't know what to do. He tried to bang his head against the floor. But that only broke the floor. The red man buried his principal and he couldn't understand why he put the mask on him. And then the guy starts remembering how he got beaten up just for being there. And then when he was bleeding, the principal came up to him. Told him to know where he could stay, and he took him with him to his school. The principal wanted him to be a teacher and look after the children. The teacher knew that only teachers can teach is not true. The principal knew then that the boy could be a good teacher. The boy could not have expected that he would become a teacher. But he followed him without hesitation because he had no place to go, and at first he wanted to run away from there. But with time the boy started to get used to it, and for a few years now he has been a great teacher and educator. When the two of them were on the balcony, the teacher asked the headmaster why he had chosen him. There were many more people in the slum that were even poorer than this guy and needed help. The director came up to him and looked him in the eye and knew at that moment that he was the one. The director trusted him 100%. And he was sure that if anything happened to him in the future, he knew that the children would be safe. The girl was crying and did not want her teacher to leave. It could have been dangerous for him. But he had to save the other children as they were his family too. The boy was confident that the girl could cope when she was alone. The girl came up to him and gave him a final hug. The boy promised her that he would come back, and then he went to the slum to look for the others. After that he left to look for the others. To avoid attracting attention, he put on a Macintosh. When he got to the slum he saw the guy sitting in front of a house and he decided to go up to him and ask if a truck had passed by. But the guy got really scared and said he didn't see anything. The guy went off on his search. He wanted to catch them alive. Guys in black suits and trucks was an unusual sight for those in the slums. All that mattered there was to feed and clothe themselves. Kim wanted to look into the red light district. But then he remembered the moment he had been visited by a scholar who said he was a scholar sent by the city of the blue moon. So he went straight there. There were 3 guards at the entrance. They were waiting for a truck to come to them, but the truck had not yet arrived. But the guards didn't consider the possibility that the truck might be attacked. And then the red man walks towards them. The guards looked at him and didn't know who he was. They thought it was some weakling from the slums who came here to ask them for money. But when the red man approached them, he said he was looking for a white truck. He saw that the guard had some paper and he took it from him and read that the gourmet truck had arrived here with the children. The guard shouted at him to give him the paper back quickly. And the red man decided to give it back. He slammed this paper into the guard's face and thereby broke the stone floor with it. Then he started asking the other 2 guards where the truck was going. He warned them that if they didn't answer he would kill them. And whoever told him, he'd give them life. But the guard didn't listen to him and he took out his gun and started shooting at him, but all the shots were unsuccessful. And the red man took it and threw it against the door so hard that it made a crack there and stuck in. The 3rd guard didn't want to shoot him anymore and he started saying that he would take him to the truck. He decided to lie that the gate to the gourmet shop was closed. The gates could only be opened from inside and had to be waited on because they only open when the moon is in the sky. Thus he decided to call for reinforcements. But the red man had no time to wait and he grabbed the guard and flew with him to the top of that gate. He pointed his head towards the city and told him to tell him where the luxury goods shop was. So he went with him there. 100 years ago the rebels failed to take over the country, they were exiled and forced to live in misery to pay for their sins. So people started fighting against each other to protect what little they had left. All that led to selfishness and they all went their separate ways. They became divided into different groups, the slum, the trendy district, the red light district and the cemetery. All these were called their streets. And the descendants who saved the country and its people ran a huge corporation, and lived in skyscrapers that were built on the ruins of the old city and enjoyed their security, behind high walls. As a symbol of great glory they founded the city of the blue moon. The red man with the guards was walking and all he could see were the permissive buildings. The place was huge but it was just ruins. Beyond the ruins was supposed to be the center where all the skyscrapers were. There was no one in these abandoned places to rescue the guard so he hoped he would be all right if he took him to the center. He told him to go straight ahead and then go right. But suddenly a girl comes along and says that's not the right way. And if he has to go to the gourmet shop, he has to go left. He didn't realize who it was and the guard starts apologizing for making a mistake. The red man asked the girl who she was. The girl replied that her name was Panda and she was a high school teacher in a trendy neighborhood. She understood from his clothes that he was from a slum. He told her that his name was Kim and that he was also a slum teacher. Since they had the same job and were going to the same place they had to go together, which they did. The girl was sitting in some place and didn't understand where she was, there was meat hanging and there were some mummies. This girl was on her way back from school and a white truck appeared out of nowhere. Strangers started forcibly taking them with them and after that she ended up in this place. It seems her sister was taken to another place. Her hands were tied and she couldn't see anything because it was very dark. She starts to hear somebody coming, and then a fat man comes in who was like a puppet stitched up. He had a butcher knife in his pocket and this butcher was covered in blood. He growled and walked over to the mummies that were lying there and took them with him. The girl realized that they were all people who were wrapped in bandages and folded up in this room. Suddenly some other guy in a mask came to the girl. He said that he had come to save her. The guy was wearing a chain of fingers symbol. He was telling her that the structure of the task was complicated so he was late, but he would rescue her anyway. But the girl got scared which caused her to start making noises. The guy was telling her to be quieter but it was too late. Suddenly the head of the monster that wanted to eat them appears at the door and suddenly this head starts turning into a huge amount of bloody teeth, and starts flying at the boy. At this time the red man and the fashionista came to their main shop. There was a lot of fish, vegetables, meat and everything. All the vendors said that they sold only fresh produce that had passed strict quality checks. I told the guys that they were not accepting any new customers, as the shop was open only for VIP guests and companies, and told them to leave and come back tomorrow. I told them to come back tomorrow. The girl said they were interested in what they wanted to see. The girl smiled and asked if they sell human meat. The guard was furious and could not believe that people were being sold here. It seemed that all these people were cannibals. The vendor replied that of course they were selling, but their customers don't ask such questions. They all started packing their knives as they realized that they were very suspicious. They started asking them who they were. The red man stripped off his clothes, and became indignant that even in their slums where there was nothing they did not resort to such horrible things as cannibalism. He became very angry and asked them where the children were. The girl looked at him and told him to calm down because as far as she knew the gourmet shop did not consider the younger kids as food. Even if they did kidnap them they shouldn't have killed them right away. But the girl had to hurry as she was looking for the teens. The red man wanted to save the children as soon as possible. The evil salesman realized that they were the guardians of the children who were brought in yesterday. They did not understand how someone like them could get here. But they didn't want to let them take them away as they were high-end products. They started running at him with their knives to kill him. The first 3 were killed by the red man in one blow. But the others began to surround him and attack together. After they had surrounded him they started thrusting their knives into him. The remaining criminals were vaguely aware that they had attacked someone unusual. They did not know that he was more than just a man, but in a moment they stopped. And they were all very frightened as all the stabbing was unsuccessful and he was not bleeding. Now he stood before them, covered in blood, but not wounded. He began to advance on them, knocking them out with powerful blows. He did not want to kill anyone, but they gave him no choice. The red man was forced to defend himself to stay alive. The guy could not be wounded with a gun, so he could not die from some knives. But the sellers didn't know that, so he started scattering them all to different sides and his wounds instantly began to heal. The girl looked at him and understood why he was walking here all alone. The girl and the guard decided to help the boy, but the guard did not know what to do as he did not want to help the intruders, but he could not help the criminals either as he was a city guard. The girl, meanwhile, was very good at fighting and repelling her attackers' attacks. She had learned all this on the street because it was a dangerous place, especially to protect children. The teachers had to be strong. But after she had beaten one, 10 more ran after him and they started running away. Meanwhile, in the gourmet shop in the restaurant basement, the cannibals continued to eat their scallop steak in pleasure, fully immersed in their world of flavor enjoyment. After all, for them it was a real masterpiece that satisfied all their nutritional needs. The main course was scallop steak. It was prepared by a secret chef for his ruler. It had a new sauce with a new recipe from a new chef. The new sauce he had developed was not to the taste of even the boss himself. He was worried. For tomorrow they were to have a very important guest and the boss wanted him to enjoy a taste he had not experienced before. The annoyed boss threw his plate at the cook who had prepared the dish. The cook realized that this was his defeat and he was prepared to do whatever it took to right his wrong. The boss asked them about the girl they had brought in yesterday. She was supposed to be the main course of the event. He could feel his body moving fast, allowing him to dodge the blows and attacks of his opponents. There was only one thought in his mind, to find answers and stop these terrible practices. The red man continued to fight and defend himself, even as his body became more and more scarred. He knew that this was the only way to find answers and expose these cannibals. Finally the red man managed to overpower his opponents and stop them. The boy wanted to ask them where they were keeping the children, but he could not as his body was moving on its own and he had no control over it. The girl told him not to worry as she knew where they were. The girl had a finger chain patch, with which she could easily find out the location through telepathy, but only the handsome head of the fashion district was capable of this. Since he had superpowers, he put them into the things he made. The girl saw the location and they ran there. The guy who tried to save the girl was brutally murdered. The girl was tied up and stood on the podium with her mouth covered. She was put up for auction. Her shin was sold for 554,000 yolves. Her buttocks for 913,050 yolbways. The girl didn't understand why they were doing all this, they were people like her. It was very hard to get teenagers so the prices were unbelievable. These cannibals sold everything but the belly and organs. Every part they bought from the gourmet shop was cooked by chefs and sold to customers. And so the auction was over. Now they wanted to eat it. A butcher comes into the studio with knives and starts to approach her. It seems the death of the man who tried to save her was pointless. But suddenly a man in a red mask jumps from the ceiling under a red beam and he smashes the butcher to the floor. The girl who was looking at him thought the red man was just a fairy tale. But then he saved her. He came here because the panda told him that his 3 children were being held here. The patch pointed to this place. When they came to get him she saw a girl and realized it was her apprentice named Rae. During the excursion they got lost in the street. The panda immediately ran up to the girl and tearfully hugged her. The panda said what she thought his children were not here, but in fact, it was stupid to assume their children were tied up at first. The boss sat there and didn't understand the mess. He knew he shouldn't have messed with the kids from the fashion district, but it was too late. Panda recognized the guy, it was the chairman of the gourmet shop. The red man hoped he could find the kids if he caught him. The gourmet shop chairman looked at him and drank his wine. He laughed at him as he thought there was nothing he could do. Normally the inhabitants of the Blue Moon did not even dare to look him in the eye and he was sure that he would not be able to catch him. There were a great many men in black around him, defending him. They started to draw their swords and then ran at the guy to kill him. But as usual, they didn't succeed. As all the red man's wounds healed. The boss didn't understand how he killed all his guards, and it all happened in such a short time. But there were still the twins left. They were his strongest guards. They tuned up and with all speed ran at him with their fists. The red man stood up and put his fists in front of him. Then the guys who ran at him fell down with broken arms. It was no longer funny as these were his strongest guards. And the boss had never seen them beaten. The red man grabbed this foodie by the neck and lifted him up and started asking where he was keeping his kids. He thought what he was saying about the child they had just rescued, but he said he was looking for the 9 children they had kidnapped recently. Gourmet started laughing at him and said that it was no surprise as they looked very appetizing, and said that they weren't here and said that the guy would never be able to find them. He said to just give up. The red man didn't know what he meant. The girl started screaming for the guy to turn around, but it was too late. It was the butcher who came up behind him with a knife and cut him in 2. After that the gourmet could tell him calmly where they were now. He said that they were now in the hands of people who were far more powerful than he and they wanted children not of the blue moon, children without kin. So that even if they disappeared no one would look for them. That was exactly what these children were, they thought. But it wasn't that simple and they didn't expect him to go after them. The boss took their demands into account and provided them with children. The boss thought he was done with the boy and told the butcher to take care of him and not to forget to get rid of the uninvited guests. The red man heard everything and realized that his children were not here and there was no reason for him to leave them all alive. The hand that separated from him squeezed the foodie, and the red man began to recover. The gourmet was in complete shock and did not understand how after his body was cut in half he remained alive. The butcher after noticing immediately tried to strike again, thereby cutting his arm. But the red man recovered it with ease. A knife was all the butcher could use. The red man began to get very angry, to the point where his mask was very strained. The butcher was a beast of carnage, but he was frightened of him and dropped his weapon. The boss started ordering him to kill the guy and he obeyed him and with all the force of his fist punched the guy in the face, but the guy withstood the blow and started punching him back and thus he killed the butcher with 1 punch. Gourmet looked at him and was delighted as he was extraordinary. He had seen many monsters in his career, but this man was a real monster. And so when he wanted to hit him, he said that if he killed him you would become a criminal and lose your chance to get your children back. So he decided to offer the red man a deal and he helps him find his children. The red man decided to ask what the panda thought about it. As far as she knew, even if he has power, he can't mess with people who are stronger than him on his own. And the girl said that it would be much quicker if they knew where the children were in the finger chain. The girl closed her pupil's eyes. And she said that it means he's useless. Because of the uselessness of the gourmet, the red man could safely kill him and not feel guilty. As they sat the girl told the panda that a man of the finger chain was trying to save her. He had a mask that covered half of his face. The panda remembered who it could be and said it was not a man as he was all 2 years older than her. And she was sure he was all right. His job was to scout. In other words, discovering her. If it suddenly seemed impossible to rescue her, he would have to hand over the patch and let her go. But in the end their plan was for Panda to rescue her. Moreover, all members of the finger chain, including Panda, had been trained so that we could control Blue Moon City. So they couldn't overpower any of them so easily. Also, Panda said that she was sure that he had already returned to the fashion district and was resting. This was very strange as she had seen the monster eat him alive. The girl screamed because she heard the monster is still here. She felt it just like the last time. The very head that wanted to eat them appeared in front of them. It opened its mouth and flew at the red man. But it was no great difficulty for him and he tore it apart with ease. There was a guard inside the bean. He said he was looking for the children but this monster attacked him. He struggled but eventually it devoured him. The guard tried to run away when the monster ate him. There was also a guy who wanted to save the girl. The panda approached the red man and said she knew where they had to go. They have to go to a giant food shop. This shop is a regular giant food business which was like a gourmet shop. That's why the president has developed a good relationship. So much so that they are considered brothers. Gourmet food, which didn't reach the conglomerates, was able to rise so high because of the giant food support. And as they exchanged information with each other, traces were left behind. She deduced that the giant food was holding Ray's sister, Ramona, and one of his disciples, Henjung. Now they were waiting for a response from the finger chain and they would drop them the location of the children. The guard very much overheard their conversation and was very frightened. He said the giant food was really dangerous. The OG representative was one of the heroes who prevented the uprising. He has blue blood. It was a whole other level and they could all die. Blue blood is what they call the pillars of Blue City. Pillars that can be counted on the fingers of one hand. Ray had to go home and the panda had to lead her to the passageway that leads to the ruin. But the girl remembered everything that had happened to her. And she told them to take her with them. They told her she couldn't go, but the girl was stubborn and said her sister was in town. "I'll go." "No." 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 After an unsuccessful argument with the red man, the girl went up to the teacher and asked him if she could go with them. The teacher said sure, which made the boy very angry, to the point where his mask cracked and splinters flew into her mouth. It tasted like blood. The red man said she was crazy, but the teacher said she was an adult and she could help us. On top of that, she has a special talent. The finger chain suggested that Ray might accompany us when we go to rescue Ramon, because she wants to protect her family more than anyone else. The red man replied so she wouldn't hold it against him later for not stopping her. Actually, the teacher didn't want the girl to go with them either, but she had a special talent. Even if she joined the fight, she had to defend herself to the best of her ability. The girl agreed and they set off. They walked into the zipper shop. It was a high-end shop. There were only a couple of places like it in the whole town. It was just a clothing shop and the red man didn't understand why he was brought here. Panda replied that it wasn't just a shop and showed his patch. It turned out to be a secret hideout of the fashion district inside the city. Panda told the man who was a consultant that they needed help before they went on their mission. He agreed and the girl went to the wall and opened for them a secret passageway that had a lot of doors in it. The head of the fashion district was a girl called Handsome, who had managed to turn the wasteland into a fashion district on her own, and had always been wary of Blue Moon City. She always knew that Blue Moon City was corrupt. She also knew that if the fashion district was attacked, they wouldn't be able to defend themselves alone. So she decided to form a group with superpowers she called the Chain of Fingers. The members of this group made peace to become the eyes, ears, hands and feet of Hands. And Zipper's shop, which operated undercover in Blue Moon City, also belonged to the Finger Chain. They went into this secret place and were told that the whereabouts of the kidnapped slum children was a rather serious and heavy inquiry. But since Panda had asked for it, the croupier would find out. The red man thanked the lad. Panda was surprised that he knew how to thank since she had only seen him in anger. The guy banged on the table and said that these city boys are child kidnappers, so he wants to destroy them. The Finger Chain employee said that the story of Kim, who single-handedly destroyed this huge and sturdy company, is impressive. It's great that their group opposing the city has such a strong ally. And that's why there aren't many shelter zippers in town to avoid detection. However, they are counting on a good outcome due to his outstanding abilities. But the real problem was that they didn't know how the four of them would get to the giant meal. If they went on foot, they would immediately be spotted by CCTV cameras and the police would be called. And the Finger Chain could not engage them as the main priority was to work in the shadows of the city and they could not expose themselves so easily. It could also lead to a war between the city and the streets. And the man warned them to avoid confrontations with the police as well. They also did not like the fact that this cowardly cop was also here. The guard got nervous and looked at the pipe, and when he looked he came up with a new idea. How about this? To sneak in a giant meal through her division. What he meant was that there's a bingo delivery company that specializes in delivering frozen food. They set up a long pipe all over the city so the food can't melt on delivery, but the policeman didn't know if it was connected to the headquarters of the giant food. However, if they tried to get through the pipe connecting all the districts, it could be dangerous. Panda said what a really good idea. The girl was surprised that he was on their side. The nearest bingo delivery was in a small town on the outskirts, and the red man had to travel quite a distance to get there. But he had to get there to get information that might help him in his difficult business. But the red man was told that he couldn't go that way because no matter how well he tried to hide, if he walked around town with a naked torso, the chances of being spotted were too great. So he went to pick out some clothes. A carriage arrives, many people in black begin to put up the red carpet and stand guard over it. The chairman arrived on the scene. He could already smell the blood. And he was already hungry with anticipation of what Hero had prepared. But it was a little strange that today the Gourmet Association did not answer the phone and no one even came out to meet them. It was a gourmet shop. They looked at it and saw that there was a dead body on the sign. The boss knew something was up. So the chef runs up to them and starts addressing the gentleman. They ask if he works here, and what happened to the gourmet shop. The cook began to say that an unknown man in a red mask killed Chairman Hero and his subordinates, after which he disappeared. He may have had accomplices, but this guy in the red mask made the whole mess on his own. He was a real monster. No matter how many times we got him, no matter how many times we wounded him, he wouldn't die. And there was no way to stop him, and I just hid. After all that, they headed towards the center of town. It's very strange, but one of his accomplices was a policeman. There was also a girl with sunglasses and a teenage girl they rescued. The chairman hesitated as the policeman, whether he was real or fake, was already a problem. The guy put his hand on the cook's shoulder and said he understood and it was useful information. Next he put his hand over his throat and started strangling him, saying, "Good thing the news of this incident did not spread beyond the outskirts." He strangled the cook and stuffed him in his pocket. If they wanted to find survivors who managed to escape, it would take them some time. The boss asked Barry how he could dare to kill his closest donsen in the Blue Moon City. He ordered him to track down whoever had committed this unthinkable atrocity, and told him to have his body delivered to him and to chew on it endlessly. The servant said he would hire a qualified assassin for the case. At this time Kim was trying on clothes that had a shock absorption and self-healing function. The clothes seemed to fit the guy just fine. The handsome collection he was wearing was so rare that no money could buy it. And it was a gift to increase the success of the operation. And so the red man came out in his new, greatest clothes, and they set off in search of the children. Ingo's delivery, the head worker called Rocky stood at the podium in front of a crowd of people who were warmly dressed. He said that before we got to work he would deliver a message coming from a giant meal. As a result of an accident in the main department of the Gourmet Association, the operation of the gourmet shop has been temporarily suspended. More details will be provided when all the ongoing logistical issues have been sorted out. They had to go all out today. They have to work with Paul to keep the bloody fridge warm. It was going to be a nouvelle delivery. They were screaming that they were ready. So the boss gives the order for the gates to open. The gates open and the icebreakers set off to cut the ice. They each had their own job and missions to send through the pipes. The captain came in with them and was asked why he wasn't cold. He replied that cold is something in the face of enthusiasm, and he could be here even without outerwear. But suddenly the gate starts to open and a red man comes out. 30 minutes earlier. How they could leave their belongings unattended was not understood by their team. There are thefts of course, but no one has stolen clothes yet. Usually they steal from an even book of competitors. After we arrived at King's delivery, I remembered a story the policeman had told me. This story was told to him by his son Bay. There is a common blacklist used by some big companies. All the people listed there had disappeared, but after receiving reports from the families of the missing people, the police investigated and found them. They all froze to death. I am told that he has always been suspicious of Bingo Delivery. The founder of the company appears from the outside to be a good businessman, but in reality to carry out murder orders. It was very brutal. The manager of this shop was himself nicknamed the Mad Dog. He was expelled for multiple murders in the ring. That's when they started following tactics. The red man would walk up to them and they'd already be in their suits. When the red man walked in, the captain said what she wasn't for anyone but the staff and asked who he was. "No details," he said. "I don't work here, so try and stop me. Since I'm a trespasser," said the red man, and with all his might hit the captain so hard that he flew off into the wall and made a hole there. And then all the icebreakers started running to kill the red man. But after the first one decided to attack him, he broke the ice pick with his bare hands. Looks like he's got some kind of superpowers. In the meantime, the rest of the team had to sneak in while Kim was distracted. They didn't have time to think about it, but it seemed like a good strategy. They decided to look into the B-44 pipe. There was a fork in the path, a worker needed to be present to correct the direction. They had to climb the ice cube and they were good to go. Just as they were about to set off, the other employees noticed that they weren't wearing work shoes. And they got burned. The red man noticed this and quickly ran to save them. The team was already on the ice, and the guy took a swipe at them and sent them down the chimney. The officers saw that the intruders had entered the B-44 pipe. And they wanted to go after them. But they had to go through the red man. But suddenly the captain jumped on him and pushed him away. He didn't understand how he could have survived his blow. He said it was a common thing, it would be a shame not to pull a fight with someone like him. At this time the officers shook the pipe after the criminals. The captain tried his best to stop the red man, The next day, police officers arrived on the scene at the main gate. So, you approached the main gate to report for duty, but all 3 of your colleagues had disappeared. The policeman spoke. One of them isn't much of a talker, so he doesn't know him very well. But your others aren't the kind of people to disappear, said nothing. The guy tried to investigate, but all the rivers were wiped out. Someone had cleaned up the crime scene. An outsider has infiltrated the city. There was no record of any gate opening or closing on the central server where all the data was stored. However, if they're dealing with someone with superpowers, the only clue is this damaged central gate door. The main gate is made of special material, so it can't be repaired quickly. On the other hand, the new asphalt has only recently been respected. There's also the possibility of them destroying evidence from the inner city. Suddenly a policeman comes up to them and tells them to wrap it up, and to call everyone names. He says it's just a minor incident. All 3 were found, after which they were dismissed for absconding. Leaving the workplace isn't that common. Yes, it's not that common, but it's such a big problem already. If you don't believe me, ask your supervisor directly. Detective Aston, I'm aware of your influence, but please don't interfere. And the policeman left. At this point, the team was already flying on the ice. But the staff began to catch up with them. They were feeding off their response with all their might. It was some kind of nightmare. If the man hadn't slipped, they would have been able to get there safely. IMU must be having a hard time coping with everyone by themselves right now. Suddenly some frantic guy appears in front. He stops the ice and splits it in 2. And because he split in 2, the policeman and the 2 girls split. Panda thought the man who fought the Kim was the boss, but the boss turned out to be the one who came after them. To be precise, he was from another company but held a higher position. He didn't understand how they could even think of getting involved with a partner in a bingo freezer delivery. Did some psycho hire you? The girl said she wasn't a mercenary, she was a teacher. But he thought it was just a joke. The girl tried to attack him. But he fought her off. He thought they were weak for running away. But they weren't. The workers who came with him only got in the way. He had to be more careful. He hit the girl but she ducked. The girl had never lost a one-on-one fight before, and after she ducked she hit the guy in the face with all her might, so hard that his glasses cracked. At this time the policeman was driving the other way. He thought he could escape and request backup to redeem himself for what had happened so far. He thought it was a pipe leading to another place. At this time the chief was fighting the red man. He was stronger than all the other fighters. He liked that. They could have been great friends. The red man was not interested in anything but his children. He killed him, and as soon as he decided to go down the pipe, the boss got up anyway and started saying it was just a warm-up and now we were going to get lost properly. Any other man would have been dead a long time ago. But he seems to have some kind of superpowers. That's right. He had the ability to convert the damage he took into muscle power, and now he's gotten a lot stronger from being killed. He fought to the last man and told the red man to admit he couldn't beat him. He said his ability was just dumb superhuman strength, and his ability converts the damage he takes into a powerful force. In a battle of people with superpowers, the most important factor is what your superpower surpasses your opponent's ability, and the boss said he was superior to him in everything. He can't beat him. It was the greatest fight. The red man was at a disadvantage. You can't just mindlessly go on being someone who gets stronger for it. So he grabbed him, and instead of exchanging blows he decided to try a takedown. He decided to use it to overpower his abilities. He tried to strangle him but he failed and he stormed off. And he grabbed the red man and ripped his arm off. But after he ripped it off, it hit him in the face. He didn't understand what had happened and why he recovered. Still, it didn't make any difference. No matter how hard he tried, initially I say that victory will be his in the end. The red man grabbed him in order to drag him into a deep freeze. He threw him there and closed him up to freeze him. That's exactly how he killed the people who told him. He grabbed at the last moment the door that was closing on the red man, pushed him away. Then the warden through the wall punched him in the face. But he restrained his blow and he was beginning to freeze. At this time the girl was fighting with the captain. The teenager was looking at her teacher and she didn't even know she was that good a fighter. She was usually either chilling or amused. And this guy was really strong too. To be fair, it looked like Teacher Panda was at a disadvantage now. The girl tried to throw her opponent off and it succeeded. But it didn't kill him, and he came back and told the ice in half again. The student, because of this, flew off, but she was saved by the guy. And asked why the hell she took a teenager on such a dangerous case. What kind of teacher are you if you don't care about safety? Now you see the difference between you and me, the guy said. If I used all my skills, you'd have been dead a long time ago. He wanted to save her 6 if she surrendered to the police. Suddenly, the girl answered him that he was much stronger and called his name. He didn't understand how she had called him since he hadn't told anyone his name. Could it be her? The girl asked if he still remembered her. Funny, he said. Though she seemed to be on a first-name basis, it wasn't her, he said. A girl as perfect at everything as her looks like someone as clueless as you? Didn't you know you're not the only one here who can show class? Now that you've acted so brazenly, you're done, said girl and headed to kill him. Guy said what she didn't act so light-heartedly, and that it wasn't her. Suddenly the panda activated her ability and the ice they were on right now melted as the guy fell into it. He froze. Her superpower was that she was able to freely control the solidity of the object, the density. The guy looked up and said what they really say, what the Manoans have been saying all their lives. And you've changed a lot. Why such sweet talk all of a sudden? What were you saying? That I'm a clueless person? Is that how you talk to colleagues you haven't seen for a long time? Asked the girl. The girl asked the panda how she knew her. Oh, didn't I tell you? I am from the city of the Blue Moon. The girl was very much surprised. At this time the policeman got out. This road is so confusing, it's like a labyrinth. It was difficult to find the way out. Anyway, it's okay. And all he has to do is get out and report to Tan. But suddenly the girls and the red man appear. He was in total shock. Panda said she was worried for him to get there safely. The red man asked what was wrong with his face. He said he was happy to see you all in one piece. Kim sat and remembered his children. He remembered how well they were doing. He remembered Hanjong. She was a girl who didn't even cry when she was born. She wouldn't cry even when something happened. There's one secret that only she and the director know. Kim. Did you fall asleep or something? No, I was just thinking, he said. The boss who attacked them, they tied him up. And the girl said that she didn't ask for anything special. Just to pretend they weren't here. Huh, there's a whole country on these pipes. How can I pretend I don't know if you're about to attack Blue Bloods? If word gets out about this, the whole town will be on its ear. Then you'll meet your end right here, said the red man. We're not asking you, we're giving you a chance, said the red man. Not only your fate depends on your answer, but also the fate of those outside this room. This could end badly for all of you. For your information, the only reason you were still alive is because that's what the panda wants. We're colleagues in the past, said the panda. Are you protecting him because you're from the same town? Asked the red man. But by no means. I left the bloody city a long time ago and settled in my neighborhood. I no longer have any attachment to the city. If you look at things realistically, it would be strange if the delivery, which is famous for its speed, suddenly stopped. Better to pretend nothing really happened. She also said that she knows this guy very well. Despite his strength, he actually has a good heart, so if we keep him alive I'm sure he'll take our side. The guy agreed, but in return he wanted them to provide security for his staff. There won't be a problem with that as long as you play by our rules. After all that, things went well for them. They snuck into a friend's town and the employees pretended we weren't there at all, on orders. Surprisingly, no one was outraged. The townsfolk, used to following orders from above. Panda thought he was telling the truth, for at that moment he had no reason to lie to them. He said he had heard the story from them. And the whole situation of kidnapping the children was discrediting the honor of the city of Blue Moon. He said he couldn't help them personally, but would give them some information. The giant food you're heading for isn't real. The headquarters, and who most people know, is effectively used only as a front for doing business. There is a real headquarters, which is where the chairman of the OG. He found this out when he went to the fake headquarters a few times for work. But he doesn't know the location of the real one either. The red man thought that the guy he fought with might know where the real HQ is. But that was a bad idea. The guard said that if he couldn't get the location from outside sources, he could ask someone who works in the pool. It's an industry, initially quite small, so he tried to find someone quickly. My sunbae, he once ran to this method. Any nearby bad guys to get rid of would do. So they came to the cassette service, plus there was a guy beaten up by a lot of men in a white shirt. He said that his bodyguards were already looking for him along with the police. But that's what all the people who came in here told them. They said that the police would not care, as long as the medium-sized enterprise that had risen suddenly disappeared. And then the red man shows up behind them. Are you his bodyguard? They asked him. And the red man said what he had nothing to do with him. And he just jumped down to ask something. Once you've seen this place, you can't get out of here that easily now, the boss said. He told his guards to grab him. And anyone who attacked him just flew out the window. Mistake came out, the panda told him to be as quiet as possible and he threw it out the window. But they are still on the outskirts, so no one would accidentally walk past. None of his guards could do anything to the red man. So when he had beaten all the guards, the boss asked the gentleman what he had just wanted to ask. To begin with, he hit him so something like this, and then he told them that if they wanted to stay alive, they had to obey him. Suddenly several cars arrive at the building and it looks like the guards of the guy who was being beaten up are coming out. They thought it was too late to give up. It was the brother of the guy who got beaten up. They ran over to the guy. And they saw him sitting there beaten up. But on the side, they saw the boss who was beaten up, too. They didn't understand what happened. The brother said that Mr. Kim saved his life. The brother thanked him for thanking him. And wanted to pay him for helping them. But he said he was busy, so they had to keep quiet. The red man tried to find out where the secret headquarters of the giant food was. But the brother who came didn't know that the current headquarters wasn't real. He turned to the red man. Sorry to interrupt while you're busy. You're looking for the headquarters of the giant food, aren't you? That's right. It would be so easy to find the big company's hidden buildings through these thugs. Instead, you can check the location I point out. It would be more effective if explained in detail. If Canna Food hid their headquarters, it would most likely be a tall building. The pride of the blue-blooded old ones would not allow them to place their headquarters in some small building. It's easier for structures to find any suspect building if we know its size. I'd be grateful if you could help me, said the red man. I'll just pay you for your help. He thought that if it works out, they won't owe this suspicious guy anymore. His brother is of course a great businessman, but he's too emotional, so he might as well give everything away altogether. And he has to prevent that. The brother said that we could be there at all, in Platt. Yes, we will definitely find out everything. But he was told that you are completely out of your mind. You're almost on the blacklist already. How am I supposed to help someone on the brink of death? My life doesn't matter if I want to help my savior. The red man replied that he would do his own research on the premises and you save your own life. And they went on their way. Brother said to his savior if he needed help just look for the Quran. And he would surely help. The red man came to the illegal services of the Sega Hammer. And told them that he had a job for them. At first they all didn't understand who he was and wanted to humiliate him and didn't want to do anything. But after he beat them up they agreed to do everything. At this rate they might find the location of the giant food headquarters pretty soon. Panda asked the red man if he had seen the Construction brothers. He and the Uber are known to be genius preppers. From what they said they could really help. Red man said she was right. And in his mind he was still thinking about the children he wanted to save. At this time the children who had been stolen were playing cards with a drugged out guy, and they were winning it. He asked them if they had played card games before. He couldn't beat them at all, but they were playing for the first time. And then he said they would play again. The girl asked him when they were coming home. But he said he didn't know because childcare workers like him don't know anything. Suddenly the bell starts ringing. That bell has rung 56 times already. The girl says it's fun to play with the man, but they miss their family. And being in that room all the time was uncomfortable. He asked if the girl had family. Yes, teachers, Yura Oni, older brothers, Teshin Soan and Miri. But it's just a teacher, not a family, but the girls said they were family. He told the girls that now there's a monster in a red mask coming from the streets every night to kill people. That's why they have to stay here. He also heard that his accomplice was a woman wearing sunglasses. The girl remembered the sunglasses her teacher Panda was wearing. And when the guy said she was dead the girl was surprised and asked if that was a lie. Right, I was just kidding. But, weren't you really surprised? Did any of them know you? he asked the girl. But the girl wouldn't admit it. Then the boy told her a funny fact. He whispered in her ear that he was actually from the streets too. And then some guy comes in and says that Rogel has to go. And he left. He asked him, when he was with these kids for days on end, did he gain their trust? The guy said he just went over there because he was bored, but they told him those kids were just ingredients and he didn't have to bother with them. The guy added that he wanted 1 million yuan for passing on information he didn't even say what about, but he agreed and paid him the money. Then he said that those who attacked the Gourmet Association were from the fashion district looking for these kids. However, the two girls did not seem to know the man in the red mask. Could he be a mercenary from the red light district? A few years ago, there was already a case of a serial killer in a red mask. The guy in the red shirt started pulling out money and saying they should prepare in advance, and now it's his job. He said to turn it into mincemeat and bring the rest here, and if he could manage it he would pay more. He didn't know how he could find them without even knowing where they were. He was one of the best trainers there was, and the guy was confident that he could do his job. The best praise for him was money. So he put on his hat and hit the road. The red man and his team came out of the next building. They were wrong. He was sure that the headquarters was exactly here. But it turned out to be just a den of some criminals. They had been led astray by a leak of false information from a giant meal. The number of zipper grants was limited. And even just finding his children was a daunting task. For starters, they wanted to find a place to hide from prying eyes. In the meantime, the boss of the huge meal, eating his food and drinking wine. Barry came up to him and asked how he was feeling today. Good, the doctor also said that my body condition has stabilized. Then Barry suggested we have a blood ritual this week, and asked him if he had already chosen the children to be used as ingredients for the ritual. As I said earlier, you can only choose one ingredient, as your body may not be able to handle 2 people. Also, those who have the chairman's lunch are looking for a girl called Ramo. Don't think anything will happen, but we'll need a hostage in case the worst-case scenario unfolds. The boss thought about it and said, then we'll use this girl as an ingredient. The red man's team has only 2 places left where they speculate the headquarters might be located. The first is a display company called Europad, and the second is a large mineral water company called Mineral Mountain. One of these must be the disguised headquarters of a giant food company. Red man said mineral water looks suspicious. Why would they even have such a big building if they're just selling water? And why are they selling water at all? It was all because the rebels poisoned the water near Blue Moon City during the war. Since then, the residents have been forced to buy drinking water. Mineral Mountain, which took over this niche before anyone else, has grown considerably in the meantime. And the security guard said he didn't understand why there was a company that was very famous at all on that list. Anyway, there's something you should know before you go to these places. These 2 buildings are right next to each other. And they are close to the center, so if you make a mess in one of them, you're bound to attract attention. In that case it sounds like they have only one chance left. But then they hear someone tell them not to bother. Since both of these places are the headquarters of a giant food. The guy on the roof said that since Representative Og likes rhinos, he had ordered a building shaped like horns. He was asked who he was. He said his name was Rogel. But a lot of people call him Purple. The panda seemed to recognize him and told Kim that they should get out. Kim replied that from what he said, he obviously knew about the headquarters. The citizens of Blue Moon City hate absolutely everyone off the street. However, there is a system of granting citizenship to distinguished street dwellers, on the condition that they have to wear a purple collar. Rumor has it that the elected Purple on the battlefield was also nicknamed the Woman. He said he knew everything and came down to earth. Rogel said that Representative Og had sent him here to kill them. The red man tried to hit him, but he easily dodged and cut him in half with a regular card. Zadu girl tried to kick him, but the card stopped her and repulsed the blow. He could not catch her approach, and he thought she too was a killer. However, she was slower than his hands, and the panda flew away from the card. All that was left was what Purple said was a parody of a policeman. And he tried to hide behind a wall. He launched the cards at him and the policeman thought they would fly away, but suddenly they turned around and flew towards him. Those cards grabbed him and pinned him to the ground. Rogel did not want to kill him as he would be in trouble if he killed the real policeman. All that was left was the teenage girl. She was telling the boy that he was very pathetic. He approached the girl little by little and she wanted to use her superpowers. He came up and said what she looked a lot like Ramo. Maybe they're related. Ramo? Do you know her? Of course I know her, the boy said and took a rose from his shirt and gave it to the girl. He said they were best friends with Ramo. He had heard that she was her elder sister. He had heard a lot about how she was an outstanding pupil and he chatted a lot more. Rodjul didn't want Ramo to hate her. And killing a family member of a friend seems so wrong. But, and Ramo I will send there soon too, said the boy, after which he took out a card and swung it at her. But suddenly the girl is saved by the guy who was headless. Purple thought it was the red light mercenary, but it was Kim who was recovering. That's why Kim told the girl not to go with them. She was only getting in the way. Rodjul looked at the boy and marveled at him, for even after he had been decapitated he was still alive. He had never heard of anyone with such resilience before. The panda also survived his blow, and it decided to try to hit him again, but it just flew off again. The magician didn't see how he could overpower it, so he decided that if he kept killing it, at some point it just wouldn't recover, so he cut it into so many pieces with his card. Did you want to save Ramo that badly? Did you think everything would go smoothly in Blue Moon City? Purple asked. He was still waiting to meet the guy in the red mask who had been rumored to have wiped out their subordinates. He said he wanted them all to be a little stronger. The girl watched and understood that the red man had already been wounded many times, so he could not fully recover. And it was necessary to buy time for him. So the girl asked him what he meant when he said he would send Ramo there too. Are you going to kill her? You don't know, do you? And Purple decided to tell the story of why the giant food needed the Ramo. Ramo, she was a common ingredient. Chairman Og has cancer and is also over 100 years old, which is a lot. Blue Moon City's medical technology can cure cancer and similar diseases fairly quickly. However, cancer is linked to Chairman OG's abilities, so it cannot be cured by conventional methods. He is one of the heroes who left the rebellion in the past. He didn't die because of his innate strength, but cancer isn't a thing either. He grew bigger and bigger to withstand the growing cancer, and sought more and more unusual tastes to at least temporarily forget about the pain. But as time passed, his life only got worse. Until one day an ingenious scientist came along and suggested a cure. He said to find a girl who matched his sample by more than 90%. And then he would make a cure out of her. Chairman Og used power and money to scour the entire city. But no suitable child could be found. And then the chairman managed to win the lottery. And among the children snatched from the streets, 2 suitable children were found. And one of those 2 children gets bled alive. Since the chairman has been eating people lately, this should sort of become an appetizer. Have I satisfied your curiosity now? Asked the lad. That was my gift to you before you went to the next world, now don't move. How could you let that happen? We won't let anyone touch Ramo and Henjong, said girl. Right? Correct, said the restored red man. If there is so much as a scratch on the children I will chop up everyone involved. Said the boy and ran off to kill Rogel. It all started in the year 2050. In that year, they created an innovative new virtual reality game called Immortals. It caused a huge stir and was initially the most popular game in the world. Everyone thought it was just an ordinary game, but that wasn't until a player discovered that the attributes of the game could be transferred to reality. It was a journey of becoming a god. Once players reach this level, they can challenge the gods. And whoever is victorious will take the place of a god. Ascension to God is the ultimate realm. It's a player called Chen. If he loses, no one can defeat the gods. The gods he fought said he was crazy. They said it was not just a game. Chen knew it really wasn't a game, but he had his reasons. And he had no regrets. The boy woke up near his computer. He was already playing this new game. But today the virtual reality game Immortals is launching its server. Suddenly a girl walks into the room. She starts asking why he hasn't opened the door in half a day. The girl brought an item that the guy really needed. The thing was for that game, he said he had to come back no matter what. The girl stood in front of the guy and saw a pussycat on the screen. I can see why you're ignoring me. Do you like that? Sister Ruya, look at you, how can I like girls in black underwear? Then do you like me? If she wears black tight underwear, no one can resist her. All right, come on. Play your game already. "I'll see you later," said the girl and left. 3 seconds to go until the new God server launches. It's not just a game. 3, 2, 1, the game has started. Each of the players will get their own random talent. Last time a guy played, he had a rare one. It was interesting what would happen this time. The talents were divided into ordinary, excellent, rare, excellent and exceptional. The analysis was successfully completed, and this time the boy got the talent of inversion of yin and yang. He didn't understand anything about the talent, and whether there are even black and white talents. How could that happen? The guy also got an ability of the opposite effect. When he wanted to hurt someone, healing would occur. The boy didn't understand how to use it. He had to choose the initial profession of the player, and the guy chooses a priest. He was supposed to be a mortal. But mortals in theory could also kill gods. The guy appeared in the novice village. He looked around him and saw that the world was very believable. The visuals were great. Guy decided to find the right place to test his talent. In a past life, every attribute of the newcomer had 10 points too, but they were always rated differently according to the profession bonuses and skill effects. Each profession had a different initial skill. The priest had a healing spell. He had no damage and the amount of healing was not less than the damage of other professions of the same level. Intelligence-based professions have their own special attribute of restoring mana at 1% mana per second if they only use healing spells. Mana is barely spent. This meant that he could safely apply the skill, so the boy began to use his talent. The healing spell would add 50% damage. As the level increased, the percentage would go up. The guy liked his skill, it was better than last time. He thought he would quickly rise to God level. Thought they would meet very soon. It was about time the lad went to the Red Sheep. 2 hours after the launch of the new server, a new special NPC would appear in the newcomer's village for just 1 hour. Players could exchange the horns of a sheep for a buff from her. It was a very good opportunity for the newbies. In the previous life the guy had very few horns and exchanged them for the standard buff. But this time it had to be different. The guy had enough for spells to kill the sheep. A red horn fell from the sheep. Legend has it that this horn is used for sacrifices. It only took 2 hours. 800 sheep. The guy got 705 horns in all that time. Last time he had 200. He should have enough this time. So the guy went to the NPC. The other players were getting together in teams and going to kill sheep. They looked at this guy and thought he was coming back because he wanted to kill monsters, but he was talked out of it. The ruined temple. That's where all the teams got together and banded together. Along the way, the guy got asked to join a team, too. A lot of girls asked him to join a team. But he told them not to call him and he preferred guys. When the guy came, the old man started saying that he was new here and the gods should guide him. But the temple is ruined, the glow of the gods has faded with the temple. Only the red horns can communicate with the gods. The more red horns, the easier it is to get a blessing. That was why the boy had come here. He showed his horns to the old man. And the old man was very surprised, because the boy had a lot of horns. He said he thought the gods were secretly watching over him. One had to keep a pure heart and then the gods would bless them. And then a god shows up and the guy gets a new buff. Cupid's blessing. This effect of being with the opposite sex had a lot of benefits. The other day, a guy said he didn't want to be united with a girl and they gave him that buff. The old man told the guy to follow God's guidance and find his own way. If the guy had known before that he would be given such a baffle he would not have refused those girls, would he be able to find them now? The guy saw the very same girl, but unfortunately she was already in another team. They had already started to form a team, but in time the girl spotted that handsome priest. The guy tried to ask the girl out, but she was already on another team, so he started to leave. But the girl stopped him. She said that she had accidentally clicked and she actually wanted to leave the team sooner. The guy invited the girl to join the team, thanks to which he activated Cupid's blessing. The guy went to take the girl to the monsters. The team the girl left didn't understand why she left them and went with this priest. The girl and the boy came into the pasture. The girl asked her brother why they weren't going to hunt the red sheep. The lad replied that it was late and not worth the time. She also told him not to call him brother, but to call him by his name. All right, mortal brother, she replied. On their way they saw a level 5 monster and the girl was unsure if they would kill it. A level 3 knight and a priest were usually not that strong. The boy told the girl not to fight and just wait for him to finish. The guy dealt with the monsters with ease. The girl was in complete shock. What the hell was a priest capable of doing that? A normal priest was doing over 100 units of damage. That's not cheating, is it? No. What am I thinking? The game Immortals was created by the creator company together with other companies in the world. This game was unrealistic to hack. Even if the class is too high, maybe it's just too strong. In the last game, no one could control every attack and not take damage. The girl wanted to get her brother, and she wanted him to look at him. But suddenly a monster jumps on her. But the girl managed to react and put up a shield. The boy told her to stand back and not get distracted. Looks like the brother wants to kill 2 monsters at once. Shouldn't we, then? Better to let you die? What am I supposed to do with my buff if you die? Asked the boy. It will take a long time to get back from the rebirth point. The girl apologized. But the boy replied that there was no use in apologizing. Just told her to stop being distracted. The girl looked at him and was shocked. He had such graceful movements. How could an ordinary man do that? 15 minutes passed. The guy handled all the monsters and was exalted. Also the guy got the staff of the rotter. Now from the monsters you can only get an attribute for a weapon. Cupid's blessing added 1 unit to the drop items and helped the staff reach the bronze level. The girl was very excited as she reached level 4. The boy looked at his stats and saw that the current intimacy with Ching in 57 out of 10,000. Probably 57 was the number of monsters he had just killed. While they were on the team, 1 killed monster gave him 1 proximity point. It took time to get all 10,000 points. Suddenly a mutated level 5 boss appeared behind the guy. It was a boss, but at this stage there were very few level 5 monsters. If he could be killed it would be the first big kill. This boss would bite him very quickly. With his speed it was impossible to avoid, and a way had to be found. He told the girl to stand still and not move, and as soon as he asked to put up a shield, immediately do so. The guy started to attack the monster, and when it flew at him, he told the girl to put up a shield. And she successfully blocked the blow. Not a bad ability, that seems to work. The guy attacks the monster again and runs back for the girl to block the blows. And then one last strike and the monster was killed. The level was raised to 7. The girl was already at level 5. A streaming clouds garment, of silver level, fell out of the boss. A razor dagger. And a sealed mage book that had 2 stars. This buff was very useful, and now the guy could wear the cloak of flowing clouds, and the dagger could be sold and get a lot of useful stuff for it. The old rules for boosting intelligence. Healing spells could now do more damage. The girl asked him where they would go next. First I have to go back to the novice village. You can go first. The girl replied that she had a case there too and would go back with him. The task of destroying 50 random wild monsters has been completed. Must the fatigue make you stay? 15 minutes passed and they were already in the novice village. On their way they saw those guys the girl had left. They saw the girl who had left them and the priest. The guy wanted to teach him a lesson. Let him learn that strength is everything. So he threw an arrow at him. The guy saw that he was under stealth attack. And he just dodged the arrow. Guys thought it was just plain luck. The girl shouted at them, "Why did they shoot my little brother? Do you think our team is a mere gathering? Seeing you slowly make your way back to the pledge village, we decided to meet you." "What the hell are you telling them?" Said the other guy. "Just wait to die." They started shooting fire at them. They were too strong. The guy said something I haven't met in a long time, such a confident player who wants to give me a weapon. "Cast a spell on your team, I'll send you home." Their team didn't understand what the hell was going on. How is it possible why a candleman can do damage? They said he was a cheater. Yeah, you have the last word. Don't forget to report it when you die. My health is 190. That's too low. I need at least 35 more. The brother asked the other guy how he wanted to die. He started telling him to sit it out. Told him to stay as strong and he'd go. "Don't worry, I'll take care of the gun you give me." He shouted that he didn't want to die. Because he will have 1 less item of all his attributes. There are so many good people in this world, you know I won't be able to open the skill book, gives me a chance. The girl looked at him and wondered how handsome and strong he was. They came to the village and split up, the sister went to do the tasks. The boy needed to increase his intimacy level as quickly as possible, otherwise the stretching could make the buff disappear. He came to trade. And saw that all the outlets were now filled with untouched items. The price was 2 to 3 gold points. 3 of those guys' weapons were good for a quick sale, and the silver dagger could be put up for auction. The exchange rate for gold and coins was 1 to 100. It fluctuated depending on when the server was open. The further you progressed through the game, the higher the price of gold. A guy sold an exquisite long sword for 2 gold and 90 silver. A bow for that price too. A staff too. The guy got 800 gold and 91 silver, that should be enough to open a book. The silver dagger can be sold at auction. First he goes to the village mansion to find a job. He arrives there and walks up to the room of the younger mentor of the priest. The angel wings of a priest, representing the owner's level of resurrection. Journey seeker, welcome to my office of spiritual healing, I am your mentor. Told the guy when he walked in. The guy started saying that he wanted to open the book of skills. How hard can it be? It's a 2-star skill book that exudes a lovely aroma. Interesting. Traveler, that means I need energy to open this book. It will require 5 gold pieces. The guy gave him the money. He successfully unlocked the book. The book was of healing light. Amazingly, it was a group healing. After a yin and yang inversion, it's the perfect group attack skill that would make up for his current shortcomings. Does that count as healing? The guy had already gone, it was time for him to meet his sister and go on to kill monsters. He saw the girls telling her not to kill monsters while you're here, you can't rise to gods. Should the only summoner in this world be bullied like this? The guy needed 2 more girls on his team, and he wanted to help her. And while she was being humiliated, the guy came up and offered the girl to join his team. Really? You want to form a team with me? What's the alternative? Come on, I'll take you to the mobs. The girl started saying that she could not leave the village to the newcomers and did not want to disturb others. Her partner said that the boy went and didn't ask for trouble. The guy said it was okay and he liked all kinds of trouble. Who do you think you are? While I'm here, this girl can't go with you. Don't hold me back. But the girl started to agree, so she pushed her back and shouted for her to stand in the back and not go away. What did you say? The boy asked. And started to show what he could do. The woman was very surprised that his damage was so high, and the guy took the girl with him. First let's go to the entrance of the village to meet another player. When they arrived the girl didn't understand why a girl with the 2nd level was needed. Alright then. She asked her brother where we were going. They went to the Canyon of Dark Mist. There were level 6 through level 10 monsters there. The guy said he was going to kill monsters, and told them to find a place to sleep so they wouldn't get in trouble. The guy went off to fight monsters and test his new skill. It's really a 2-star skill. So his speed could be improved. The new girl team looked at him and was very surprised at what a high damage he had. She asked her partner of choice. How did he get so strong? Not yet, we have met him recently. Do you have any idea why God put us together with him? He doesn't seem to need our help. That I don't know. Maybe because he's shy. If he really wants us. No, that's impossible. Brother doesn't like girls. Wait. Shouldn't he be trying to hide his preference? Bro specifically formulated a team with 2 girls. And the girl started to get really excited. And then she got an announcement. Congratulations, player Xiongxing is the first to reach level 10, now the level leaderboard is open, please see it. She told her brother what the leaderboard had shown up. Leaderboard? Let me have a look at it. He opened the table and saw that he was not in first place. In a past life, the currency was improved too, and the leaderboard came up. That guy has the money to pay for first place. The girl said it's our fault for holding you up. It's not your fault. No one's gonna stop me from getting first place in the future. I'm waiting for the boss to show up. Look! Shouted the girl. There was a dream fairy on the rock. It was a pet that could be tamed. Cool, it's harder to find a pet like that than a boss. You can get new skills. Take your time, someone's coming. They saw another team coming, it was the team that took the girl. I told you if you don't stay with me, I'll kill you. Who's going to help you think you could be the boss for a rookie? The girl started apologizing that she was getting them into trouble. Master, you can kick me off the team. I don't want to cause trouble. What trouble? It's just some nosy players who want to give in the place of violation. So what? It's just a priest you're afraid of. If they were able to reach the 8th level in the team, there must be a very strong player, and said it was better not to provoke them. Ask them if they wanted to fight. If yes, then let's start. Or just walk away. All right. Since you're so arrogant, I'll teach you to be a man. The price has doubled. Hurry up. I don't believe the candlestick, the knight and the little trash can do anything to us. And they started attacking them, but the girl blocked with her shield. And when they got distracted, the boy attacked and killed them. They understood how so, priests can't do damage. They thought the female knight was the strongest. After they killed them, they went to tame the pet. There are 2 ways to tame pets and animals. Use special props to tame them or rely on your abilities, complete the task and win. If a monster or other players come near me, remember to leave the team and move on, said the guy. Beginning of the challenge. Once the illusion test is started, the illusion cannot be voluntarily interrupted. If the player receives no damage, it will be discarded automatically. If you want to tame a fairy, you must find real fairies in the illusion environment. Before you run out of health, you must find real ones. These illusions seem to fly all over the sky, but they move organically through space. And only a real fairy has to fly free. And so the boy has found her. Congratulations on getting a pet. The boy has successfully tamed the fairy. This fairy had the ability to move instantly into any wheelbarrow within a 5m radius. So the guy decides to test his possessions. The girls looked at him and said he was very handsome and capable. Once tamed, the cooldown is halved due to the buff. When fairy grows up, the throwing can be improved. Let's go kill monsters. Why are you looking at me? We need to earn experience. I think they're stupid. All right, I'll do it myself. And so the guy finally got a new rainbow bow. He was planning to sell it for 40 or even 50 gold. And then a mutated zombie with a hook shows up at the front. It was a silver level zombie. And then the mutated zombie has 2 on VK, splitting slime and flying circle. The first is a basic attack. The second skill, on the other hand, will be difficult to deal with, said the girl. Have you seen this boss before? I haven't. I've read about him officially in the monster manual. This base is very hard to deal with. I've already come up with some combat strategies. I'm gonna need another warrior. This monster is a higher level, which makes it very easy to die. As expected of the summoner, her eloquence is incomparable. You talk a good game. But I think it can be blocked. Hide and don't attract the attention of the monsters. I'll take care of it myself. Seriously? The guy climbed a mountain and started shooting at him from there. The master was in a good position. The main attack was easy to avoid. But how to dodge a flying scream? And I had almost killed the monster and a flying circle was about to fly out. At the time he flew into it, the guy, thanks to his pet, teleported and hit the other side of the monster. It's a pity it took 2.5 minutes to reload. You have to watch the amount of health and slowly wear it down. And so they successfully killed the monster. It's easy going with these girls. Looks like full intimacy is coming soon. Because of this, boss guy got a staff, boots, a big blood sword and a blueprint for a moon dress. Tailoring and shoes. The lad could use it. The big ball he decided to take to the trading house. The old stuff can be put up for sale too. This will bring a lot of money. Blueprints can be learned first and then sold when professional players show up, which I will earn more. It's 2 o'clock and the lad has decided to stop there today, and asked the girls if they would be online tomorrow. They replied that they could. Okay, see you tomorrow. The guy left the game. Time flew by so quickly. Tomorrow he had to progress to new levels. The guy went to bed and fell asleep. The next day the girl woke him up. Sis, it's early morning. Here I have brought you some breakfast. Thank you, but I'm an honest man. And what with the money, I don't treat you to meat. By the way, I forgot to ask yesterday what rookie village are you in? That's too bad. I wanted you to take me with you. I heard this game is very good and makes a lot of money. Right now 1 gold can be exchanged for 75 coins. Later it can be exchanged for 100 coins or more. Sis, I remember you said you're very good at fashion design. I don't feel like giving out garment designs to people I don't know. I have a feeling you'd be suited to this profession. You can learn to make different costumes after level 10 and why put them up for sale? That should be the right thing to do in this game. But I'm only at level 3. Okay, when I'm free, I'll write you a strategy game. I have team members waiting for me now. You go play too. Without an update, there's nothing to talk about. The girl got out and went to play the game. The upgrade was very fast. I had completely forgotten about the regular games. Everyone was now at the 2nd, 3rd level. Today's challenge was to get up to level 10. And so the guy appeared in the game. The little girl who was on the team with him was also online. And they decided to meet at the entrance of the village in 5 minutes. She came in even faster than the guy. She could get something. But first the lad decided to go to the trading house to check the weapons. At the same time to check out the gold level weapons from yesterday. When a level 10 copy is cleared, it becomes useless. He successfully exhibited and sold the item. He received 1,100 coins. Last night, the price of gold exceeded 100. Those gold coins in real life equals 100,000 wheelbarrow immortals really are the most profitable virtual game. I don't know how much I can get for a gold level weapon. So the guy went to the entrance of the village. The 2 partners were there. The girl hadn't slept well. And the guy asked her if you'd been out all night. This site is so interesting. I was on it till 3 o'clock in the morning. That's right, the encyclopedia on the forum has been updated again. There was a lot of weirdness there. I read that all players who reached level 10 are stuck in a secret realm and can't get into the main world. What's the secret realm? Is it not possible to enter the main city after level 10? The secret realm is a replica of the main city, but a gate appears from level 10. Players must pass the realm's tests to open the gate to the main city. In a previous life, a guy had passed this stage at 12 o'clock at night. That's why he couldn't get a good night's sleep. Maybe this gate would open sooner. They decided to go to the monsters. They had to do a good job today. They went to the Canyon of Dark Mist. Memory told the girls to stand on this rock when they were near the monsters. And if the Tao can't heal, let the Ching block the blow of the bill. Here we go. The girls have moved the monsters. All according to your instructions. And the guy wasn't surprised, as expected from nice best player. It was cool. Thanks to these monsters he got a lot of experience, and raised his level to 10th. The guy got very good talent. He loved it. He asked the girls how far from level 10. One was at level 9 and the other was in the middle of level 9. Oleg told them to keep killing monsters. And then go to the secret realm. And 3 hours later they went to the secret realm. Their village had no unions. Therefore they would not be able to go for a while. They decided to wait for news from elsewhere. There they said what they heard was that the great council of the dynasty had wiped out all the smaller factions. When their team got there they saw that there were a lot of people there. They came for fun. The difficulty was too high. They're all stuck at level 6 and can't even defeat the mobs. Only a wizard can drag 2 of them behind him. There were guys there who recognized the sanctuary team. They used to be below level 5. Now they could enter the secret realm. This priest has good powers. He's been in contact with a female knight and is helping out that girl. You can't tell for sure, but it looks like he's on the leaderboard. He can't do damage, so he has to rely on some special ability. It's been 2 days of server launch. Only large guilds can form a team to enter the secret realm. Maybe they're connected to the guild. You saw a female knight from the teapot. They're most likely in a relationship. The teapot might have come in here because of her, the boys thought. The priest's team entered the dungeon. The secret realm, bronze level. The girl asked why nothing happened. See, there are 4 circles on the ground. Stand on them. Ooh, they got on 3 and didn't know what to do. I'm 1 stone slab and a wheelbarrow. Don't you have a connection you can summon? Let him stand on it, said the lad. Fortunately, the secret kingdom does not need a clear number of people. So they could count on the help of the beasts, otherwise they would have had to waste time forming a team. The girl called for her dog, and she got up on the cooker. After she stood up, various level 10 magic monsters began to appear. These monsters corresponded to the 7 main professions of the players. These skeletons were basic abilities, and their basic attributes were similar to those of the level 10 players. The attributes are similar? That means they are very powerful. No. It means a wizard could kill them in a second. Which he did very easily. The girl said she read on the forum that these skeletons are very strong, they have a passive aura that does 50% damage. Only a professional can kill them that easily. Weapons seem to be faster. All the guy's skills except teleportation do real damage. The rest can be ignored. Server announcements started coming to the guy. They started texting him about the blood ball, and a lot of people wanted to buy it at a very high price. This ball became very popular. The auction was over in just an hour. And now there's a rush. Is this for the first passage of the secret realm? Then the guy can't go on like this. Let these guys fight over the sword. He just needs to stay off the quest until the auction is over. Looks like the guy has a very large sum of money to make this time. The guy's fallen out with a bow. In 3 rounds, only 18 bronze weapons fell out. If the entry-level weapons depreciate after opening the secret realm, the quality of the silver ones won't be affected. The price of the bronze suit was 50 gold. The girl thought the wizard would earn more than 100,000 this time. Wow, to develop a game to earn that much. A wizard can earn that much. An ordinary person wouldn't pass this quest. If the gratitude is distributed evenly among the players, it may not exceed the loss. I feel that if we don't work hard, the brothers will leave us behind. The brother asked them, what are you talking so hard about? Stand back and watch you don't get hit. The lad went to fight the ancient guards. Their ability was such that when they received lethal damage, they went into an invisible, invulnerable state. On the aftermath of the attack, the damage would subside. So many players died here. And it was true, but it is possible to pass this stage by taking kites. The biggest problem is that when the health drops by 10%, dodging make them invisible, it would take a lot of effort and time. You had to let them launch an attack to destroy their non-visibility. A melee attack cannot be avoided just by walking, but the guy had the skill of blinking. For monsters started attacking the guy at once. If he wanted to destroy the non-visibility of the monsters, he had to call them to attack. And the glee he had was much higher than the wizard's health. It was too difficult. As soon as they started to get offended, the wizard turned on the blinker and said it was time to call it a day. Otherwise he was very easy to deal with. Which gave him a bone shield made of white jade. It was a very bad item of your class. The flash he had just made was very awesome. After he killed them, the boss started to appear. It was an ancient mortal skeleton. It was the head poppy of the imperial palace. He asked him, how dare such an come here, I desecrate my grave. So to say that he is passing sentence on him. Only 2 skills. One of them is good for further combat, and the other skill deals massive damage to the main attacker. So it's all going to be directed at the guy. But that's not a bad thing, as things should fall out of him very high quality. This boss is very easy to defeat if the guy starts attacking later. He said that the girls could attack. They did not understand how he could beat him very easily, as it was the strongest boss on this server. They agreed and started attacking him. They had to take up a skill that reduces mana. From the soul he would take over. As long as he was using the phantom dog, it wouldn't be a problem. When the girl wanted to attack him, they watched him tell them he would kill them. The facts of the game were all too real. They felt a lot of pressure. It felt stronger in middle age. The girls started attacking and fighting the monster. They were to prepare for an attack, and not to get close to the guy. Now the guy tells them to get behind him. The boss thinks they're the furthest targets. He needs to pay attention to the second skill. The confusion rain will kick in when the boss's health drops to 90%. But it didn't seem to go according to plan. When he wanted to attack, the boss hit him with his magic. And he fell. But he was saved by a phantom boot, and it turns out to be just Papa. The auction was supposed to be over in 20 minutes. Then you could go slower. The price went up very quickly. He doesn't know how many surprises the guild can give him. The current bid for this sword was 35,000 gold. 2 minutes to go until the end of the auction. The 8th team also died in the boss battle. It seems they won't be able to buy the big bloody sword, but the big bloody sword is still up for auction, and the owner is not affiliated with any of the guilds. The price has now soared to 40,000 gold. It seems this guy wants to sell it. Let the price go up, I'll get it. 40,000 gold was 3 million in real life. The president of the Sky Court Guild asked how much that ball was worth. Just now it was 40,000 and now it's 50,000, it's already 55,000. It's only a level 10 weapon. I am afraid if the amount goes up, it will probably lose its value. If I buy it, it will become a kingdom. Keep an eye on the auction. You should get it. The current bid is 60,000. The ball has been sold. And they got it. They went to the secret realm, with a big bloody ball in their hands. They were bound to pass this test. But suddenly a notification came that they were to congratulate the mortal players on passing the ancient secret realm and killing the boss. What? How did it end? Check it. Check it immediately started screaming for the boss. It doesn't matter which guild to suggest these 3. If they dared to pass the dungeon first, who would pay the price? Their team successfully tackled the boss. The killing of the skeleton was complete. He was given the rank of guide. His level is 11th. All 3 attributes are added to intelligence and damage can simply be increased. This rank increases the chance of things falling out, and with the buff the quality of the fallout was perfect. He decided to see what he got from the base. He got a magic crystal ball, a necklace of life force, a ring of fury, a sealed book of skills, 3 stars. Of the 3 items, he can only use 2. They add strength and amount of health. The magic crystal ball is a growth gear. Once the spell is cast, high level and enemies can be killed in a few seconds. The skill book was also a good item, because of this dungeon's boss in Apple book on vocals. Usually given 1 or 2 stars. He is not at home that he is so lucky and he gets 3 stars in Apple. He was able to get this outfit thanks to Cupid. This time they did their part to fight the boss. The guy said what he had prepared for you were 2 items of equipment. Although they're bronze level, that's good enough for now. They can't help you much, but the items are easy to carry. The trading house has a daily limit on regenerating items, and you can get the rest of the bronze outfits for a crystal ball. And off they went, so they were able to complete this quest. They entered from the dungeon. There were so many big gels stuck here, no one understood how they managed to get through it. Everyone wanted to take a picture of them. And everyone thought the knight's woman was very cool, so she came. The couple and the girl left her, and said they would wait outside the village for the newcomers. This is the kingdom of Qingyuan. The Eastern Wasteland. That's what everyone called it. Now 2 clans were fighting there. One of them wanted to take their lands, it was the greatest blood demon clan. The other clan, called the Sword Clan, didn't want to give up their land. They said times have changed, and these lands will belong to them. But the disciples told him not to talk nonsense. They had already reported everything to their brother called Hua. And when he comes, none of you will be able to escape and hide. What? Among the top 10 apprentices in the clan, is there someone called Hua? I don't remember him. He's not even in the top 10. But he dares to fight our clan? Which is in the top 5 and strongest. The guy laughed at him and told his brother to collect your corpses when he got here. Storm, wind, lightning. Hua's brother flies up in flames. He saves his brothers and runs off to rendezvous with the demon. The enemies didn't understand what had happened, but then they saw the brother who had dared to come to them. They asked him for death and with all their might they struck him with a huge bloody wave. But the brother easily repulsed it. What had happened? Was it all over? The brother approached the victims and asked if they were all right. They thanked him for his help. Brother Hua asked them why they had done anything. If he hadn't, it could have ended very badly. This will be a lesson for us. But these demons are truly evil incarnate. They've sacrificed the blood of hundreds of thousands of peaceful monks from our city. This literally just happened to perfect the pearl of their bloody soul. He was very frightened and tense and sadly could not sit still. My brother replied that the youth, don't let that confuse you. Told them to do their best and live an ordinary life. This is the way of perfection of my generation. His reply was that he was not quite understood. Unfortunately, the guy didn't completely take out his enemy and was left with a bloody pearl from which the demon began to resurrect itself. He began to say that they would all die. It was the elder of the Moyun clan, Seiyun, a 7th-level cultivator of the immortal sky dwellers. They were also called the Purple Palace. It was time to put an end to it. He didn't understand how an ordinary guy he didn't know could repel his attack. He was a good fighter, he even felt sorry for killing him. Their clan had always respected the strong. And he invited him to join their clan. He said he would make him his #1 apprentice, and support him. He said his clan had many treasures and many beautiful girls too. All is so serene with you? Asked the boy to the demon. I heard that you work from early morning till late at night, that you eat and sleep in the open air, and that there is a strong and constant hunt for you. He replied that on your way to perfection you are killing each other, because you are only looking out for your own gain without thinking of others. Our cultivators do not have a lot of rules, and discipline is also lame, but the environment we have is single and relaxed. Main principle. The main principle is that the more you work, the more you get. The guy laughed back and said that they have all the working hours regulated. Besides, he's been there a long time and genuinely enjoys the time he spends there. And you want me to join you? Said the guy, and with his sword power leapt at his enemy. The blow was so strong that an explosion occurred. Brothers apprentices didn't understand how their clan's entry-level sword skills could be so strong and powerful. The brother had worked hard for many years, so he knew in advance everything he would say to him. He dared to bullshit him, thereby condemning himself to these humiliations. The elder wanted to ask why he was so strong, but these were his last words. The boy decided to end it. But suddenly something happened that no one could have expected. The spirit left his body and started to fly away. And the guy didn't run after it to catch it. Well, it doesn't matter. The basic rescue mission was complete, he said. His brothers did not understand what he was doing. Why he was just letting him go. Since things had worked out that way. Why not keep chasing him? But one of them told them something they didn't know. He said the brother was practicing his 9-to-5 method. And now the time is up. And now it's the end of his work day and it's time to rest. What annoyed Hua the most was that every time at the end of the day he still had a lot of work to do. He is forced to work practically overtime. Eastern Wasteland. Qingyun Sword Clan. The warriors trained outside with their swords. They were training very hard. And they saw a guy lying under a tree, sleeping. They didn't understand how he could have been taken here in the first place. This guy came back after midnight, so he didn't get much sleep. If he had known everything in advance, he would not have been the one to put such heavy tasks on his shoulders. Up to this point, because of the incessant overtime work he was forced to do. They told him not to be lazy and to work until the last moment and not even think about quitting. But unfortunately, sooner or later it all comes to an end. Boss, I think he's dying. Call an ambulance. Quiet, save his project first, then the boss said to the ambulance. And I suddenly died, and found myself in this fantasy world. Here I'm just an apprentice of the Sword Clan. Everyone tells me that I should work harder. That I shouldn't get any sleep breaks. And they tell me to stay awake and practice more. They say they've never seen anyone so lazy. So as not to repeat the mistakes of the past, I will never work overtime in this world. Never. But unfortunately I didn't expect to stand out so much here either. Another apprentice approached the boy and told him that the elder was looking for him. He wanted to ask him about the details of yesterday's mission. You didn't say anything about me, right? He asked. No, of course not. He has already summoned us to talk, but no one has spoken a word about your actions and your power yesterday. Good, then I can rest easy. I'm on my way. Next time I have time, I'll teach you a trick or two. Thanks, brother. The boy went to the main hall. In this world, perfection is divided into 6 stages. from the lowest to the highest. Perfection of Qi, the realm of the spirit. Formation of the soul. The limit of the palace of the immortals. The purple palace. The ascent to truth. Each of these stages is divided into 9 levels. But there's also something more serious. A guy came to the head of a clan. He had the 6th level of ascent to truth. The strongest of this world was called the Qingyun Sword God. "Good morning, elder." "Don't forget where you are," said the elder. Nathan replied that the tea he had planted had been ripe for harvest for a couple of days. And the elder was very eager to taste it. He said it had been a long time since he had drunk his tea. Who'd have thought the sword god? Tea addict. The guy used his old knowledge of growing succulents and other plants to breed the best kind of tea. And this helped him build a good relationship with his elder. Elder asked, "How was yesterday's mission?" "I heard from some of the returning disciples that it was you who saved them." "Master, it was an accident. I took this from one of the apprentices of the other clan." The elder was very surprised. It was a blood pearl. "Do you even know what it is? What they are?" Before he could speak, the boy said he didn't know and he didn't want to hear, and he wasn't interested. "If you have nothing else to say to me, I'll go," the guy said. The guy wanted to live this life without being free. And leave all the worries to someone else. When the boy started to leave, the elder stopped him. He shouted that the elder was talking to him. "Even though you have succeeded in growing tea, as a true student, you cannot be so passive. May I ask why you did not take part in the sword training last week? I had to wait an hour before it was my turn. You know I have my principles in training, so please understand this guy. Because you skipped class, the masters came to me and told me to demote you from the apprenticeship." "Did they really say that?" Damn, the elder had spoken too harshly. The apprentice said, "That's wonderful." If he was demoted to an inner apprentice, no one else would pester him. He asked, when will the elder finally demote him? The elder began to yell that there had never been any such precedent in the history of the clan. If you were to be demoted, it would be tantamount to slapping your elder in the face. "Hell, I don't know that something so miraculous is going to happen," said he. Suddenly a girl walks in on them. She was their clan's #1 true student and a real beauty. Even in her early years she had made great strides in cultivation. From then on ranked #1 among the apprentices, she was called the future of the clan. Meanwhile, as a boy she ranked 55th, which is the latest. She started saying that tens of thousands of disciples work around the clock to become true disciples. "Brother, so why are you willing to give up a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity?" The guy replied something that maybe she doesn't know, but he's been stuck on the Purple Palace for a long time. "So I want to start as an inner disciple. I want to strengthen my spirit anew, break through the limit of the Immortality Palace and become stronger. As they say, repetition is the mother of learning." The girl replied that she did not think he would be so progressive and think so deeply about ways to improve. It was different from what she had heard about him from others. She said she was wrong. Her brother said what she said was too kind to her. The reason the elder called her to him was that several masters wanted to make a request of him. "What kind of request?" "They want you to go on missions with her and teach the best apprentice about hard work." "What? Are you making fun of me, elder? She's the one who has condemned the entire clan to her standards because of her hyperactivity." The boy was very frightened, saying that she were completely different and couldn't work together. The elder replied that she was the best pupil of their clan. There's a line to her every day for advice. "And you get this chance, so what are you unhappy about?" "Yem, I'm just worried that I'm not good enough for this mission and that I'm getting in the way of my sister's improvement." The brother thought she wouldn't want him to get in her way. But she replied that he shouldn't worry about it. "We are family after all. We should support each other and make progress together." And she said that the boy could use this opportunity to prove himself, and to destroy all the rumors that others were spreading about him. The boy turned to the elder, and said he was afraid that if he took part in the mission, his tea leaves would be left without his clear supervision. Elder even invited his sister to take part in the mission, but he won't back down from his principles. Why would he go with her when he can just lie here and get high? The elder thought it over and said that if he succeeds in this mission, he will give him 3 days off. The boy was very happy about this and said that he had to be informed immediately about the content and the place of the mission. He said he would go through the photo, fire, and brass trumpets. A quarter of a day passed. The sister worked very hard. And the brother was late. He said that if he didn't sleep again, he wouldn't have any energy. Sister said he should spend more time practicing. She got here in time to make 3,000 sword swings. And you happen to need sleep like the common man himself. You're too weak, she said. Ah yes. He couldn't understand why his sister grumbled like an old granny, and everything she said he let slip through his ears. He told her she was right, and he thought it was time for the bags and to double up on the training. And they set off on what do you think of this mission? The elder went to investigate the disappearance of people in the mountains. And this mountain range is right next to the sacrificed Qinyang. What he told me is that he suspects that the disappearance was no accident. His sister told him that she thought so too, and that given his level, she would protect him. He thanked her. The boy thought she seemed like someone he could count on. Made friends with her, and he gets 3 days off. Yeah, I hit the jackpot, thought the lad. They arrived in the mountains. The girl told them to start by asking the locals about everything. The kids started counting. 5 4 3 2 1 0. Time was up. The boy quickly went to rest. He said he was leaving it all to her. And left for town. He went into the inn and said he needed a room. He was told the room cost 1 silver, so he gave it to her and went to his room. Even after he saw that there was something wrong with the guy, it didn't matter as it was the time of rest. All the rooms are occupied, there are no seats. Master, there is clearly no one here. Why are you doing this to me? The boy really did fall asleep. That was the voice he had heard before. My sister wanted to rent a room for 2 silver marks. But she was told there was no room. The boy said that she had been told there was no room and that she should not torment him. Said, could my little sister sleep in my room? Yes. The girl wondered. And they went together. Right, we're not doing anything I'm ashamed of, are we? Besides, I'm much stronger than him, and I can stand up for myself. Her brother asked her if she'd had dinner. She said no, and they have to abstain from food in order to harden the heart. Only when your heart is strong can you. Before he could finish, he put the biscuit in her mouth. She liked it very much. It was a pastry that was sweet but not greasy. It melted into her mouth and had a slight tang of color. But she shouted, how could you sneak up on me with this pastry? Very tasty, said. But such food is of no use, so it's better not to eat much of it. Sister, have you ever wondered if it's possible to walk in 7 steps, avoiding 5 vegetables, 3 colors, and the mundane? No, again no. You and I are walking there for the world. Even with great desire can one walk away from cardits, from everything in the world. Blind avoidance will only tire you out physically and psychologically. You will be afraid of everything that makes it difficult to practice. Well, is it possible to practice without renouncing human desires? How does one practice like that? I think that real monks are not afraid to face and experience temptation, as in the case of this ice cream. If you're afraid of the taste disturbing your mind too, you should try to get used to it. When you learn to treat it as something quite unusual and yet remain indifferent, that will be your first step towards real practice. Only with a pure heart can you see the truth. Only the truth will help you to manifest yourself. Whatever happens, you will feel like a fish in water. Free, naturally. Thought he'd said too much and her brain was overheated. She said she understood. Only by facing desire head-on and then abandoning it can we return to our true nature and know the DAO. Sadly, she didn't understand anything. Hell. Brother went and told sister to sleep on the floor tonight. She said it's okay and she won't sleep. She's just gonna sit and meditate. Now don't blame me, said the mystery character. Suddenly a strange aroma started wafting through their house. The sister woke up and shouted that it was poison. She started telling her brother to run away. At this time the guy who had poisoned them came to his master. He began to tell him that the apprentices of the Sword Clan had been knocked off their feet by the scent of a broken spirit. According to legend, it was an elixir that could bring the dead back to life. One of the apprentices, it was the best apprentice of the clan. The identity of the other was unknown to him, but she called him Brother Hua. What? I didn't expect you to beat the best apprentice. And as for this brother, I've never heard of him, must be someone insignificant. The guy who poisoned them said that he couldn't detect him, it's like he used some kind of talisman. The boss said he did a great job this time. The guy asked how his wife and kids were. He was told not to worry, they were alive and well. He wanted to take him to them. He thanked him and suddenly the Lord fired a death ray at him which killed him. The last victim, it was about to end, he said. He told his servants to go to the inn and capture those 2 Sword Clan apprentices. At this time the sister woke up and saw that her brother was sitting beside her. She got up and immediately freaked out, thinking she had to run away as there was poison everywhere. She didn't understand why he was all right, he should have passed out before she did. Her brother replied that when he slept, unlike her during meditation, he used his spiritual power, so the scent of broken spirits had no effect on him. He had to be still for a long time for the scent to dissipate and you came to your senses. In fact, it was almost impossible for a monk below the 5th level of the Purple Palace to resist this poison. Brother had told sister that her social experience was too little and she would have to be more careful. If she poisoned herself on the mission, it would be very bad. The consequences would have been disastrous. She thanked her brother for saving her and said that she would be discreet in the future. Throw away that politeness. Better have some tea to warm you up. She bowed and said thank you. Rumor had it that he was just a common slacker. She had never expected that he would not only say a few words to her, but that he would reveal the secrets of perfection. All this time he's been so attentive to everything, even saved my life. Wait a minute, what am I thinking now? Maybe he's got me 3 dots. She thanked her brother for his work and said she was fine. That's great. Suddenly a very strong glow appeared in their room where they were sleeping, from which the disciples began to appear. The sister shouted that it was the killers, and the brother said that since it was better for you, he would give the opportunity to her, as his working hours were over. It didn't matter, and so the sister thought the 2 were much stronger than his brother. If he got involved, there would only be more trouble. She still thought it was no coincidence that they came here. They were apprentices of the Purple Spirit Clan. The girl didn't understand what they were doing here. Their eyes are literally bloody puppets. Their souls were consumed by magic, turning them into mere gutless puppets. It was the magic of a sect of demons. The disappearance of an entire village, it was their doing. Their power was equivalent to the 3rd or 4th level of the Purple Palace. Sister began to use her sword technique, the clouds shattering the moon. She directed all her power at them, thereby splitting the light of the sword. At this time the brother was lying there with his eyes closed watching his spirit. He said because she split the sword light, her strength was definitely reduced. It's much more comfortable to watch the fight this way, not even having to open your eyes, he said. But it looked like the 2 were certainly not going to give up so easily. The 2 of them were still talking to each other, they didn't seem to have fully become puppets. There was still a trace of self-consciousness, and they had already swooped down on her. They came at her with all their might. But the girl fought back. Could she wield such a weapon? What kind of power did the girl not understand? Her hands went numb and she could not move. The girl was saying that it was about to end, as expected of the best student of the clan. In such a short time, she has had time to study her opponent. Even though they are on the 4th level of the Purple Palace, they are just puppets now, their minds sealed off. Therefore they can only fight with their instincts. However, the brother realized that the sister was unaware of the danger. When her sister turned away, a very strong light strike was directed at her. But luckily she repelled it. What he now did was a very strong blow. If one missed such a blow, the injury would be very serious. Suddenly a green light began to appear and someone came to her rescue. He killed them all, thereby blocking their spiritual power. When the sister returned to her brother, he was lying there, saying what he had been saying all along. The sister did not understand who it could be, who could help her. She wondered, she said nothing. I think too much. After all, with his level, could he have done something like that? Sister was saying that while the spirit of these guys is still alive, they should hurry up and bring them back to the clan. They should ask the elders to purify their hearts and know the evil formation from them, so that they will no longer be puppets. But then the members of the demon clan will run away and do their dirty deeds elsewhere. Oh well, for the sake of the common people. And 3 days off, the brother thought. He said it looked like I was the only one who could do it. My sister didn't understand what he was trying to do. I will use my divine intuition to penetrate their minds and banish the formation. Parrot, are you out of your mind? Do you even know how to penetrate the soul of a true monk? The slightest careless move can lead to the total destruction of the soul. Don't worry, sister. But she was very worried as he wanted to convert them from puppets at the same time. It was dangerous. Saving a man is like putting out a fire, the sooner the better. He said. He got into their souls and it seemed to go well. The 2 men woke up. The brother and sister greeted them. They were grateful that they had saved them. What they said was that they had been captured by an elder of the demon clan. Tell us how it all happened, brother said. A week ago Pharaoh and I went here on orders to investigate the disappearance of the villagers. We sat there and discovered that a demon clan elder was using the blood of the villagers as a sacrifice. They suppressed our consciousness, we didn't think we could turn into mere puppets. They thanked them for saving us. Sister told them not to thank her, the man who saved you was Brother Hua. They thanked him and said that they would surely pay back that debt. He had just managed to free 2 people at once from the curse of the bloody puppet. Usually this spell affects the deepest corners of the mind. Getting rid of it without hurting the person is like finding a needle in a haystack. Not even all elders managed to get rid of it. She was very surprised not to understand when her brother had managed to master this technique. The brother said that he used to spend his time in the Sutra Pavilion, and accidentally came across a fragment of a practice scroll for manipulating spiritual thoughts. He found it quite interesting, so he studied it. FRA. A fragment? Not even a whole scroll. Brother, you are playing with fire. To save you, you don't need to use resources and artifacts worth practically 30,000 high-class spirit stones. His sister thought what he must have had just happened by accident. She didn't understand where he got that many. She did not understand how he got so many, and she said that we will make it up to him as soon as we get back to the clan. She was surprised as he really agreed. It is now accepted that a formation of heart cleansing and destruction of evil, capable of dispelling the spell of the bloody puppet, requires at least 50,000 stones. 30,000 was just that, as a matter of friendship and to his own detriment. The guy asked them if they could remember the details of how they were captured. His name is Mo Xian, his fighting power is not great. I would have handled him on my own, but unfortunately he is very good at using formations and poisons. That's exactly what we got caught up in. My brother said he had a special elixir that would make them immune to poisons for 3 hours. Are you sure you can handle it? If we are immune to the poison incense, we can beat him to death in minutes, they said. They asked why there were 3 of them. Aren't you coming with us? In fact, it took too much spiritual power for me to save you guys. I'm afraid I'll have to sleep to recover, said brother. We're so blind, we can't see your hard work, brother. Well, get some rest. Leave everything to us. The lad said what he would count on the 3 of them. He gave them an elixir and they set off. They said he had to believe it was a magic elixir. It melts in the mouth like an ordinary pill and is no different. Not that I didn't trust him, but his level of perfection was very high. Suddenly my sister stopped and said that there was something wrong here. But she was told there wasn't a living soul here. But suddenly a voice started coming out. It turns out that you are in my territory, and suddenly there was a swamp in front of them. They didn't understand where it came from. It seemed to them to be the parts of dead creatures that had been massacred here. Their sister asked them if they had seen the man who had just spoken to them. A guy in a black cloak appeared behind them. Looking for me? How did you manage to get rid of my curse there quickly? He did not understand. It seems that the best apprentice of the Sword Clan has secret treasures. He didn't understand why there were 3 of them. Was one frightened when he found out he was behind it? It's because I can deal with a dummy like you myself, said the girl, and ran at him with all her strength. She angled to try and hit him with all her might, but it turned out she had fallen for his trick. It was an illusion. Even though you are the best students of your clans, you are still fools. He began to let the venom fly all over the air. How do you like the smell? But since they had the elixir, they didn't react to it. And when they tried to hit him, he disappeared. He appeared in the air and started saying, it's all useless, you can't escape my poison. He said it only takes 10 breaths and they're already his. He realized something was wrong and there was another girl missing somewhere. She came around behind him and hit him when he wasn't expecting it. He flew off into the ground. Why the poison doesn't work on you, he didn't understand. The brother's elixir was very strong. Resistant to its tricks, it would help them deal with all the members of the demon sect. This poison was even stronger than the previous one. Even if they held their breath, it would soak into their skin and nothing but its antidote would be able to dispel it. I wonder if they have secrets of their own. But do you think this is the end? No, the game has just begun. He began to use the bloody flames of the celestial formation. They didn't realize what was happening. The bloody puppets of the 6th level of the Purple Palace began to emerge from the ashes. The demon was saying that they would not return today for sure, including the coward who was hiding in the village. The demon sent a second puppet who had a level 5 Purple Palace on him. Damn, the brother's in danger. When the boy was asleep, the demon started creeping in through the window. But when he entered his room, he did not see the boy there. But the guy didn't want to work overtime, so he laid down in the next room. But the puppet realized this and broke into his room through the wall. Can't you go back if you don't catch me? Do you really have to involve me in this? The boy asked him. At that time, other apprentices of the Sword Clan were fighting the puppets. They tried to attack them, but they could not hit. So he launched a force wave at them. It was so strong that the brother flew away and seemed to die. The sister was really pissed off. But unfortunately, this guy is so strong that with his endless regeneration, they'll just run out of steam in time. The girl said she had a way to wipe him out. But it would take time to build up strength. She asked for some time to be bought for her. The sister agreed and went to distract. The demon said that if you have any trumps up your sleeve, then use them. This was the masterpiece of his collection of bloody techniques, which was very powerful. You're all dead. At this time the lad was saying something that the elders must not find out about. He just wanted to sleep in peace, no need to make any noise. And if you don't, I'll give you something in return, he said. The boy tied him with his light ribbon and sent him off to heaven. He still had some time left to rest. He decided to go and see if there were any rooms available. He needed to get some more sleep. In the meantime, the girl was distracting the demon, and she didn't understand why this bloody puppet was only getting stronger and stronger. The demon was saying that if she was still holding on, then she wasn't called the best student for nothing, but it would be over soon. The boss launched the puppet at the girl and she with all speed began to fly, but during the flight came a second puppet that killed her. The demon was very angry. He didn't understand what the second puppet was doing here. How is that possible? Great, there was nothing wrong with Brother Hua. They thought that one of the elders had come. Could it be the elder of the Sword Clan is here? That's the problem the demon was talking about. He started maximizing the bloody puppets. At this time the sibling had built up her power and began to attack the puppet. She used the violet shadow technique, from which there was a massive explosion. My brother was already awake, went to the window to get some air, saw the explosions through the window and said it was some kind of explosive day. Looks like Sis and the others have been fighting all night long. And this elder really isn't that simple. That blow must have killed the puppet. It was a secret technique. The accumulated breath power explodes in one breath. But the flaw in the technique is obvious, too much energy was expended. This time they only succeeded, thanks to E's sister, and her brother survived. The demon was very angry. There's still more to deal with. 3 bleeps. You've practically destroyed number 1, which I've spent decades building. Unfortunately, the sister's spiritual power was almost depleted after she struck. The demon said they would be buried here today. The Sword Clan's sister began to fly to kill him, and everything in this world stopped and went silent. It was very strong indeed. The demon began to launch new force waves. It was aiming for a previously punctured breach. The demon did not expect it to have the strength to do such a thing. And the demon began to form a huge ball of blood. It was no good. He wanted to use a secret technique. Damn, it looked like he had sealed the acupuncture points to release spiritual energy. And the partners started turning into puppets. The demon told them to grab it. You may be talented, but you're like a little child in front of me. You will be my first victim, the demon said. Your blood will make a beautiful offering. Forgive me, Elder, your best apprentice has been defeated by the devil's spawn. But then Brother Hua suddenly appears and tells him to let her go. He doesn't understand where he came from. Could he be the same Elder who killed number 2? Sister told him to run away as he is weak and will not be able to overcome him. The demon said that since you came on your own, I'll start with you. When the demon started to attack the boy, he snapped his finger and shouted. Destruction! The demon began to collapse. No one understood how it was possible. The demon was saying that the blood puppet formation he reactivated was several times stronger than the normal one. No matter how powerful you are, it cannot be dispelled so quickly. He was told to stop talking nonsense and was attacked. Brother Hua, what is going on here? What exactly did you do? The guy said it was just a little trick. When he extracted the bloody seed from them, he found that his rhizome had struck their souls. I was afraid of damaging them, so I only extracted the seed. Which meant that you could still be manipulated at any time. So I left a few strands of the sword in your mind. And so as a bottom line. As soon as the Blood Demon Clan Elder tried to activate the seed again, the thread would foil his attempt. At a critical moment, this could completely turn the tide and change the course of the battle. They began to say that they admired him. His sister asked why he hadn't told her about it. If the whole plan had failed? You have succeeded, what is the point? Please don't think that you couldn't have done it without me. You're the man who can defeat a demon clan elder. Really? If he'd told her about it, her acting skills would have been enough to fool a blood demon. Right, would we have been able to take him down that easily? Looks like it. The girl looked at him and realized that despite his low level, his wisdom, strategic thinking, and discernment were developed magnificently. The boy wondered if he could get the job done sooner or later. Suddenly the demon started making waves. It looked like the guy was still alive. I knew that early leave sounded too good to be true. Looks like it was his bloody brainchild. The guy didn't know what he was doing. The sister started using a secret sword technique. But it was too late and the demon's formation was complete. They were advised to retreat as their strength was at its limit. The brother told them to go first and he would catch up. He didn't understand what he was waiting for. Ha ha ha. You want to get away from me? You miserable insects, I'll show you the power of real poison. And the demon caught them as their powers ran out. This guy was invincible. He was absolutely on level 5 of the Purple Palace, but now it looks like he's on level 8. Shit, is he really just going to massacre them with his bloody formation? It looks like he absorbed all his puppets. The demon said that number 1 and number 2 were the best in his collection. And he didn't think they could overpower them. It was very unexpected. Even though number 1 is much stronger than us, but we could handle number 2, they said. But now the 3 of them were one. Ha ha. The demon said that I, too, was a victim. He's the one who forcibly raised the bloodthirsty soldier. What kind of soldier? The brother started counting, no one understood what he was doing. 5:4. It was written in ancient books that demon warriors first appeared 10,000 years ago. Countless decent people were beheaded, and most of the land became owned by the demon clan. Only when the 5 clans were able to band together to oppose them were they able to defeat the armies of the demon clan, and put an end to this catastrophe. 3. The guy was counting. The demon said that the boy had witnessed many things. He had seen blood being spilled, souls being taken by force. All this helped shape warriors like this demon. 2. He said that today they had the honor of being an offering for his bloody formation. What? What's that sound? The Hua guy opened the mirror and said, "Well, we'll have to work. Overtime." Overtime? What are you talking about? Didn't understand the demon. I'm saying it's your dying hour. The boy began to use his secret technique that allowed him to free himself. He told the others to hurry up and leave, the rest was up to him. He told his sister that she should get out as soon as possible and protect the village. She asked which of the elders had defeated puppet number 2. "Call her quickly. We can't do it by ourselves." 1. Thanks to this formation his strength has increased to at least level 8 of the Purple Palace, so even with a concerted effort we won't be able to. Brother told them not to worry. It will all be over soon. The demon didn't understand what had just happened. His level doesn't seem to be accurate enough. "Boyfriend, what trick did you just use?" the demon didn't understand. "Ha ha. You think I need tricks to overpower you?" That's when sister and the others flew to the clan. They didn't understand how they could just take him and leave him alone like that. Does he really know a way to deal with him? With his level, that demon would easily destroy him with one blow. Her sister didn't know, but she trusted him. After he left the mountain, all his decisions were correct, and more than once had saved a life. They flew to their clan and sister quickly began to make a castle of heavenly spirits over their clan. Then the guy said the demon could attack. He didn't understand what was happening now. He laughed at the fact that the guy thought he couldn't handle him. Brother began to say that if you have any other tricks up your sleeve, he should use them as soon as possible. Because there won't be another chance. The demon began to unleash some very strong blood waves. He used a bloody halberd strike, but it didn't do him any good, because after that blow the guy didn't have a single sirupin left. "Is that all?" asked the guy. The demon was angry and didn't understand how come. All of his blows were unsuccessful. He began to summon demonic light from the heavens to earth and use his invincible power of 10 blades. The disciples watched from their clan at all these explosions and outbursts and were very much surprised. They were worried about their brother. Brother began to say what he had already told him. It's not so easy to master a skill to its fullest. What good is your skill if you can't control it? The demon was in shock. He thought he was asleep and everything was a dream. It was impossible. Ha ha, you think how I, a mere perfectionist, can stand up to you so easily? It's quite simple here. It's all about the fact that I have sealed my realm. I never practiced in front of other people for fear that if they found out about my true level, disaster would be impossible to avoid. Besides, it was not appropriate for an apprentice to boast about his skills. All the while the demon was trying to hit him, but to no avail. The boy continued. Because the higher your skills are, the more problems fall on your shoulders. So as not to make my life more difficult I had to hide my strength. The demon was saying that he was a real madman. The boy was telling him to stop. Should I let you go? You've interrupted my rest time after time. You hurt my comrades, thus forcing me to start work early. You shouldn't have come here, said the lad, drawing his sword. This is an unforgivable sin, said the guy, and used his Qingyun sword technique against the demon. The demon flew off into the ground. And his trident remained in the air.